Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Banished Naruto marries fem kyuubi council bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Madara 123, link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1, The Great Betrayal. It is said that a person who loves would go to great lengths to ensure the ones they love are safe, even if it means to abandon them to protect them from danger. 3 days after Sasuke retrieval. As Naruto sat in his prison cell awaiting his hearing for injuring the last so-called Uchiha, he grimaced. Every movement obstructed by multiple seals restricting his movement. With every movement meant pinpricks of electricity would pulse through his body. This was not a waiting area for someone awaiting trial, no, this was a cell made to contain a Jinchuriki, a prison specifically built for someone like him. Naruto observed as a shadowy figure moving towards the bars of his prison, and he narrows his eyes as he recognized a figure as none other than the ancient warhawk Danzo Shimura. Hey, why am I here? I fulfilled my mission, didn't I bring back Sasuke team to the village? Why am I in prison? Danzo smirks and answered, the mission was for you to bring young honorable Sasuke-san back safe and sound. Who gave you permission to break his arm and leg? He even has a number of broken ribs because of you. What do you have to say for yourself, demon brat? Huh, you are nothing but useless base. Naruto smirked and suddenly burst out laughing. Hahaha, wow, is that the best you can do, you old one-eyed mummy? You'd go for such low blows by calling names? Oh, Counselor Shimura, I thought you were the master of manipulation. Oh come Mr. Yami no Shinobi, if you think that can get you kicks by making me angry, you got another thing coming, he said between his bouts of laughter. Danzo grit his teeth then quickly smirked. Your dreams will never come true, not anymore. Hiruzen may have protected you, but not anymore after this trial is over. The best you can hope for is total banishment from the village, so keep laughing demon brat. Soon, you will be without friends to help you. At worst, I'll have you executed for your crimes against the last Uchiha, he said. Naruto just continued to snicker and finally managed to say in a straight voice, what gives you the right execute me? Mummy team, I've read all the Konoha laws, and just in case you tried to have me executed instead of exiled, I can always ask the Hokage to choose the punishment I deserve, and last I heard it was Tsunade Senju, not Danzo Shimura, that was Hokage, so kiss my ass, you old bastard. Danzo glared at the bound young man in front of him and smirked. Too bad, because of the kyuubi attack that is no longer possible. The law, now the council can veto the Hokage's decisions, even as important matters as exiling a shinobi. And besides, all of the clan heads have all joined my side, and soon the law forbidding the older population will be removed, so count your days of living, demon brat, because now because of the kyuubi attack your days are numbered. Even as we speak the clan heads are telling their children about you and your secret. Naruto glared at the conniving old man in front him, trying to figure out to come out of this situation alive, and hoped beyond all hope that his friends and comrades would view him as he was and not what he contained, especially that one person that he had sacrificed so much for, someone who he had known since his days in the orphanage and a few months beyond. Naruto cried, hoping for the best, but considering his treatment all through childhood he was expecting the worst. I hope for the best, and I hope both of you have a better life without me. Meanwhile, with the rest of the Konoha 11 minus Sasuke, after they had been told by their parents and families had told them about the kyuubi inside Naruto. The Konoha 11 were meeting to discuss what was recently revealed to them earlier in the day about their supposed comrade Naruto Uzumaki and his dirty little secret. Although unknown to them, they made it so much of a one-sided story that it made Naruto himself seem like the most evil person in the world without actually asking Naruto's side of the story. I can't believe how troublesome that demonic blonde had become, said a pineapple hair. Chunin mumbled. That was the only way he could defeat me in the prelims. He had to use his demonic power to defeat me. Bastard demon fox made lose my chance at being Chunin, said a boy with wild hair and fang-like triangle tattoos on his cheeks. I knew that dope wasn't special, it's just its demon powers helping him fight like in the finals against Nigi and that other monster Gaara. Oh, I swear that I'll kill him for hurting Sasuke-kun, said a pink-haired girl. You got that right, forehead. From what my father told me, a few of my cousins tried to kill the demon, only for them to suddenly spontaneous combust when they tried to use Shinranshin, no jutsu mind destruction technique. Too dangerous to live hinai one day. Think of killing us all, and with its power none of us could live, said a blue-eyed blonde-haired girl. It is illogical to try to comprehend how the third Hokage willingly let the demon stay in the village. He should at least been exiled. Why do I believe this is a logical choice? If we destroy its human disguise, wouldn't the demon retaliate against us? The best the council can do is to seal away the demon's chakra and throw him out to die, said a tall, glasses-wearing bug user. That chakra shroud that he used during the R fight in the finals that washes demon power without its power, it is as weak as a civilian. The only reason I lost was the demon used its power to heal itself from my Juikin, gentle fist. He cheated me of a victory. It was fate that he will be exiled, said a arrogant pale-eyed boy. Ontmunch Wuramunch Muncher parents Muncher all in the council, they'll make sure that the demon is exiled at least. I still can't believe we actually believed that the demon was our friend, said a fat boy who couldn't stop eating. I'm sorry Naruto-kun, I don't have the strength to defend you, I'm sorry, I'm such a coward, thought a pale-eyed girl as she listened to the conversations around her. But out of all this group, 2 of the Konoha 11 actually supported Naruto. Both had known him for a very long time. Ever since they were orphans growing up, they knew all there was to know about Naruto, both of them even figuring out who Naruto was actually related to, but kept it to themselves, their names Rock Lee and Tenten Higurashi. You can't all be serious, right? I've known Naruto since I was 5 years old. I haven't even seen him hurt a fly. He takes care of wounded animals in his free time for Sage's sake. Have any of you even seen him attack a person that didn't hit him first? Why would you believe that Naruto is a demon? Wouldn't a demon fight back more than he does when he has to, argue Tenten. I agree with Tenten-san, why would believe all those stories when we haven't even heard from Naruto's side of the story yet, so please don't do something unyouthful as judge him before you get the full story, said Lee, who was repeatedly nodding his head slowly. Troublesome, what makes you two believe that is Naruto's side of the story is plausible anyway? He's known for being obnoxious and over the top, he could easily make up a story just so he can get out of his punishment, Shikamaru answered. Why should the demon get a get out of jail free card anyway? He needs to die and that's final, I will willingly kill him myself for hurting Sasuke-kun, Sakura had screamed. Troublesome Sakura-san, if we kill him now he'll escape his human body and kill us all, so exiling him to another place where he can die away from Konoha is much better, plus as an added bonus he will die all alone, regretful and poor, thus the demon's suffering is prolonged, explained Shikamaru. These argument eventually resulted after a prolonged time arguing about Naruto. Only one other person had changed his stance on Naruto. The silent bug boy Shino Aburam figured out that Naruto was just like his clan, who have symbiosis type relationship with their Kakachu bugs, is, after much deliberation, was in fact 2 separate beings, as he had actually at one time in the past sent the orange wearing boy and detected 2 separate chakra signatures. Despite this, he only changed his stance towards Naruto, instead of hostile was instead neutral. Soon after this, Tenten and Lee leave behind the rest of the Konoha genin after both got fed up of the other genin constantly slandering Naruto and left to prepare for the coming days and whether they would leave with their childhood friend or remain in the leaf. Eventually both wondered what were their sensei's opinions were. Meanwhile with the senseis meanwhile were in a local bar out drinking, along with a number of other chunin and jonin. Many were secretly discussing Naruto's arrest and coming punishment. Hey Kakashi, is it true what everyone is saying, that your Naruto's been arrested? Spoke a bearded cigarette-smoking jonin. Turning and nodding his head, Kakashi answered, why yes, it is true actually, in fact I was the one who personally captured him. After what he did to Sasuke-kun he deserves to be arrested and put on trial. At this answer Asuma turns angrily at his fellow jonin. You what? You arrested your own student, damn it Kakashi, you promised my Two-san you'd take care of Naruto. I wanted him as a student, but you told Two-san that you were gonna train him to be a worthy shinobi. We've all read the report, it was successful mission, your Uchiha student was returned, why would arrest him anyway? Kakashi sighed and looked at Asuma, as if he was the most stupid-looking person he has met so far, before sighing and answered, because of all Sasuke-kun's injuries, he is currently in hospital with a number of broken bones, cracked ribs and brain damage. Thankfully Tsunade-sama made him priority, especially as I had taken Naruto to prison and sent a shadow clone to take Sasuke-kun to hospital. Asuma grimaced and then asked what were Naruto's injuries. Kakashi I smiled then said, oh nothing much, nothing that the kyuubi can't heal any. By the way, why are you asking all these questions about Naruto anyway? Asuma glared before he grabbed Kakashi by the scruff of his shirt and asked, you are avoiding in the question what were Naruto's injuries, damn it. Kakashi glared at the bearded jonin, then sighed before he answered, alright, when I caught him carrying Sasuke-kun back to the village, I saw at least a broken arm and multiple bruises all over his face. As I got closer the little bastard actually smiled at me. Must have thought I'd approve of my favorite student being so battered. I kicked him over and created a shadow clone and sent it to the hospital with Sasuke best as I could. I was restraining Naruto on the ground when I saw that there was a fist-size hole near where his lungs were meant to be. Truth be told, I am so proud of Sasuke that he was able to use the CHIDORI thousand birds technique so well in battle that I'm thinking of taking on Sasuke-kun as my full-time apprentice and teach him all the jutsus I memorized in the past. Heck, I might even give him Sensei's Hirashin Kunai when he's a jonin. Oh, that would be the most happiest day of my life, to be a former sensei to a future Hokage. And Sakura, well, she's asking to have an apprenticeship with Tsunade-sama. I have no doubt she will accept. The more Asuma heard the more he got angrier and angrier before he took a deep breath before he calmly asked, what about Naruto? What is he gonna do in the future? Their conversation was noticed by many bar patrons who began to listen intently to what Kakashi was about to say, but mostly because many of them wanted to have more reasons to hate Naruto. Once again Kakashi I smiled at Asuma, not really noticing the killing intent that was starting to leak out like a small flood, before putting his hand to his chin in a thinking pose, thinking about how to answer his question, before finally he said, Naruto, well Naruto, how well, his skills are 0 to none. Really the only reason that I actually took him as a genin was because I needed to use Naruto as an incentive to get stronger. I was really expecting him to get killed during his first C rank mission. After much D ranks and team exercises, I hoped that Naruto and Sasuke-kun would be friends and Naruto gets killed. Then bam, Sasuke-kun has the Sharingan, ain't that perfect? But well, he survived. Then I signed them up for the Chunin exams once again, thinking Naruto would get killed by one of the better genin. Once again he survived like a cockroach that refused to die. He came out alive after the second exam. Then came the 1 month for training. That little shit actually had the smugness to ask for training from me just because he had passed the preliminaries. Of course I refused train him, so I just got Abisu to do it. I told him to do the most minimalistic training as much as possible so he could work on his chakra control. Ha. I actually knew he had a Goju Fuin seal on him. It was just funny hearing him get repeatedly boiled alive. Hopefully he would drop out of the finals so he wouldn't cause me and Konoha embarrassment. But no, Jiraiya-sama had taught the stupid brat Gamakuchius no Jutsu toad summoning technique. He was given a summoning scroll. Can you believe that that summoning scroll should go to Sasuke-kun? Not that no-name orphan, he doesn't deserve it, and I still believe he doesn't deserve it. I hope Naruto gets executed. Then finally we can have our peace with him dead. No more a chance of kyuubi. From what I heard, he even used the kyuubi's chakra against Neji and Konoha. He was using that disgusting power to fight a Konoha ninja. I decided right then and there that I will kill that brat if he's exiled, if not I will be his executioner. Asuma stared at this person in front of him, thinking on whether to just stab him to death or to beat him to death. How dare he? His father had put his full faith in him, only to betray his trust. His father trusted Kakashi with Naruto, believing that he will do right with training him. Instead he finds out that all of the training with his team was just so his star student could get his fucking pretty eyes. Ever dangerous mission was just so he can be legally be killed without the Sandame Hokage knowing. Just as he was about to take a swing at this disgusting example of a man somebody nobody expected done the deed for him, a man that nobody expected, Konoha's own green beast Mido guy had used a haymaker to send his rival flying across the bar. The look on his face clearly showed how pissed he actually was at the moment, as instead of usual jovial self his face bared a scowl that could scare cages, and considering that guy can go toe-to-toe with Kakashi in a battle of strength, he was probably the most strongest of all the shinobi present, thus going to rescue from enraged Mido guy was absolute suicide. Kakashi got out of the human-size hole he had created upon impact after being punched by his rival, glares at the man, only to receive a glare that clearly said, just try doing something you son of a bitch. He quickly stopped glaring at Guy and asked Guy, what was that punch for? I thought you'd be more supportive of your friendly rival. I actually growled at that statement before he answered, I've known you since childhood, Kakashi. I know everything that I need to know to defeat you. I know who was your sensei and who he had a relationship with. Because of that I even know one if the most best held secret of Konoha. I know who both of Naruto's parents were, so don't you dare say Naruto's a no-name orphan. You and I both know that he was meant to be treated much better. I was one of his mother's gen and I know who she is, and I will tell you my most unyouthful former rival, that if she was alive she would tear you limb from limb. The only reason that I'm not gonna say her name is because of the fucking unyouthful law that says we can't say his parents' name in public. But right now I don't care anymore. None of you respected his parents' wishes because all of you believe those fucking unyouthful bag of bones that call themselves our elders over them know then ahem, Naruto's mother's name is. Don't you fucking say it, Guy, or I swear I will stick a Chidori into your chest. Like I give a shit, my Kakashi. I am warning you. I stop this, it's against the law. Chidori. I fucking told you to not say that Yuzu slut's name, Guy, and I fucking meant it. I fucking hate that bitch. She wouldn't teach me anything just because she and I quote sensed my darkness like I care anyway. She's dead and soon that demon of a son she birthed. I bet she slept with a demon to conceive that demon brat. This of course resulted in Guy beating Kakashi half to death. Then a stupid civilian, not liking how Guy was supporting the demon brat, had attempted to smash a bottle on his Guy's head. It did hit, but Guy, already enraged, swiftly punched the civilian into a crowd of his friends until suddenly the shout of fight resulted into a all-in-bar brawl which lasted 15 minutes. By the time the Anbu had arrived to break up the brawl, the bar that the fight started in had been completely demolished and lay in a pile of rubble, and the brawl had spilled out into the street, where even the locals, finding out the reason for the fight, had joined in as well, turning a bar brawl into a full-scale riot. When peace was finally restored, at least 20 shinobi and Kunoichi were arrested, and another 100 civilians were also arrested in the relation to the riot. When questioned by the interrogators at TI department, they had given the same answer. Guy started it. Mido Guy and Asuma Saratobi were also arrested, although when the Anbu had found them, Asuma was somehow able to use his high wind chakra affinity to literally create an air guitar and was strumming an awesome solo, and Mido Guy had found a working microphone and boombox singing, while constantly batting away any rioters that tried to attack him while singing the song Welcome to the Jungle. By the day had been subdued, Mido Guy had severely injured a number of Anbu through head injuries because of Mido Guy using the microphone stand he was using as a bludgeon against arresting Anbu, while Asuma caused a few cuts and bruises due to Asuma somehow channeling chakra through his air guitar. Whenever he'd started strumming, it would release chakra blades and balls of wind in random directions hitting anything in its path. Now many would ask where the hell is Tsunade-sama when you need her. In truth she herself is incapable of calming anyone down because due to unanimous vote by all three councils, Tsunade was impeached for giving permission to kill the last Ichihan. Was actually currently under house arrest. Flashback the date Tsunade Senju was meant to return to her Hokage duties. As Tsunade was on her way to the Hokage mansion to rest to prepare to do her Hokage duties thinking of one Naruto Uzumaki, she was expecting him to come to the hospital after the Sasuke retrieval mission, but she had not seen him 2 days thus after she was going to call Kakashi to inquire where Naruto was when she was informed that she had been ordered to attend a full village meeting concerning village security. How dare they, she was the Hokage, the leader of this village, the council has no right to her around. Oh, she's gonna beat the shit of councilors for this. She was about to walk into the council room when she heard the ending of a discussion. Meanwhile in the council room, so we are all agreed then the demon brat will be punished for harming Uchiha-sama, and Kakashi will be rewarded for rescuing and arresting the demon brat, said one voice. What about Uchiha-sama, shouldn't he be rewarded for attempting to kill the demon brat, said a voice from one of the female councillors. And we can reward him something that is not only beneficial for Uchiha-sama, but also the village as well, said the only female village elder Kaharu Udatane. At this Danzo gave them the answer. How about the CRA Clan Restoration Act, complete with anything in the village he wants, like for example, the 4th Hokage's mansion, it's empty, no one's living in it, and he'll be happy for being given a former Hokage's mansion. This suggestion was met with cheers and many nodding heads. At this Tsunade had heard enough and promptly kicked down the door to the council room. All the councillors all looked at her and then quietened down before Danzo began to say, Tsunade Senju, we called you here 15 minutes ago, what reason do you have to be late for such an important council meeting? Tsunade glared at the one-eyed mummy and answered, what is this that I just heard? You councillors had arrested Naruto without charge. We did have a legitimate reason to arrest the boy. And pray tell of so honorable council was the reason. At this, an obese councilman known run child trafficking behind his more legit massage parlors stood up and as if to lecture a child, how dare speak to us like that, Senju. We the council have unanimously decided to allow Kakashi to arrest the demon brat under grounds of excessive force and endangering the life of a clan heir and finally assault of a loyal leaf shinobi. Suddenly the air around the room suddenly dropped as if the air itself had turned to ice as Tsunade had unleashed her uncontrolled killing intent into the room, causing many civilian councillors to pass out due to intolerance to such high amounts of killing intent directed at everyone in the room. The shinobi and elders fared better than their civilian councillors as each released their own killing intent to try to counteract Tsunade's own failing badly, while the elders were used to it due to fighting in 2 great wars and leading in another. Danzo was firmly gripping his cane, while Kaharu had her hand to her mouth, while Hamura had suddenly pulled out a scroll and started drawing on it, so yeah, they were handling the killing intent pretty well. This lasted for about a minute before Danzo had had enough and thumped his cane on the wooden floor to catch everyone's attention. It had broken Tsunade's concentration, causing her killing intent to dissipate, thus allowing the civilian councillors to wake up from their killing intent-induced mini-comas. Tsunade swiftly snapped at Danzo before saying in an ominous voice, what gives you the right to imprison one of my shinobi when I specifically gave Naruto permission to use extreme force if necessary? Maybe it wasn't clear enough to you, I am the Hokage, not you. Troublesome, but not anymore. Tsunade snaps her head towards the voice, who is revealed to be Shikaku Nara Jonin, commander of Konoha. What do you mean not anymore? How do I make this any clearer so you can understand? Shortly after the Kyuubi attack, right before Sandaime-sama was reappointed, the council made a number of new laws. One of them was the authority to judge a shinobi if the shinobi in question in the eyes of the council had overstepped his or her conditions for their missions, but only if the whole council votes that the shinobi in question had broken the law. Tsunade actually started glaring at the man, her eyes figuratively boring holes into his head, but Shikaku, actually ignoring the glare Tsunade was sending him, continued his explanation. So thus we unanimously voted that Naruto would be charged for endangering the life of a clan heir and, like my fellow councilman had said, excessive force and attacking a loyal leaf shinobi. Just as Shikaku was about to continue, Tsunade suddenly appeared in front of him, grabbed his head, then with her legendary strength, slammed his head into the table, shattering the wood and giving Shikaku more scars than he already had, though these ones were less scars from battle. but scars caused when he underestimated a Sannin with strength to destroy mountains, also rendering him unconscious for the rest of the council meeting. This outburst caused the shinobi members and Anbu to draw their weapons, but one look from Tsunade that literally said just try you bastards. Which made many of them become uncertain that attack an enraged Sannin in an enclosed space would mean that they'd die en masse instead of scaring the Sannin from releasing their Jonin commander. Before they could charge, a loud tapping of a cane was heard from the front as Danzo was angrily trying to stop more bloodshed in the council room as he was shouting order everyone return to your seats so that we can continue this meeting, and Tsunade let go of Shikaku-sen now. That's an order. At this the shinobi and Anbu had calmed down, but Tsunade remained glaring at everyone in the room as she took a few calming breaths before finally moving towards the Hokage seat before somebody asked Tsunade-sen, what are you doing? I am the Hokage, am I not, so I have to sit at the Hokage chair, don't I? Didn't anybody tell her? Tsunade stopped and looked around once again before she said, tell me what? Everyone in the room looked at each other trying to see who would be the one who would tell her the news. Unsurprisingly enough, one of the elders decided to say it. Amura, who pushed his glasses up and turned to Tsunade and said, another law we passed was the authority to impeach a Hokage who we as the council believed was doing an unsatisfactory job, but also if our authority as the council is not consulted about, especially for extremely important missions such as the Uchiha retrieval mission, when you gave the order to use excessive force you passes the boundaries we the council approved a Hokage to take, so at this moment Tsunade-sen, you are under house arrest, meaning you can receive visitors, but you can't leave your home until we the council say so. Tsunade nodded grimly, but slowly, not believing her sensei had allowed the council to literally, in her opinion, turn the formerly esteemed position into nothing but a figurehead position. Then suddenly something dawned on her. During my house arrest, who will be the Hokage? All of the councillors all turned their heads towards one man, Danzo Shimura, who grinned like he had won a billion yen in a lottery. Danzo, in a smug confident voice, said, when we the council learned of your actions we decided then and there to impeach you and immediately voted me into the position of Hokage for the duration of your house arrest, making the standing Hokage until such a time as we the council find that you are worthy of the title once again until your trial. If by then, if we judge you unfit, then we will take a Jonin general vote to determine I myself am worthy of taking the Hokage title from you permanently. Damn you Danzo, am I? No Tsunade, damn you. If you hadn't given permission for that brat to injure Uchiha-sama you wouldn't be hospitalized. Now then Anbu. Serve your new Hokage, take this disgraced woman from my presence. At this a dozen Anbu member appeared and grabbed Tsunade using chakra suppressors, stopped her from using her super strength technique, was dragged out kicking and screaming. Tsunade suddenly called out, wait, what about Naruto? That boy is a danger to all of Konoha. We the council will most likely exile the boy due to the fact that we do not have any Uzumakis present other than the demon boy, so we will add permanent chakra suppression seals on his body and then let the Akatsuki have him in the wilderness. Once this was said, Tsunade decided to berate the council one final time, you bastards. You scum of the earth traitors. What about Minato's and Kushina's wishes? Will you spit on the grave of a Kage? After all they've done for you? You aren't the people that they died for, you would kill their only child for your hatred. What did this one-eyed bastard offer you to betray you friends? The first to answer back was the usually stoic Hiashi Hyuga, who was at this moment sporting an arrogant grin spread across his face. Senju, do you think I'm afraid of you? That you can shame us into feeling ashamed of ourselves? You want to know something? I hated that blonde-haired bastard, he took the Hokage position from me, so yes, I hate them both. Tsume clan head to the Inyazuka clan also answered back, ha, are you all hearing this? The great Sannin Tsunade actually cares for the little demon. I haven't had this kind of joke in years. At both these answers the whole council start laughing, ignoring the still angry Tsunade, who was led away to her clan compound with Shizune in tow. Then flashback. So thus for the past few days Tsunade had been under house arrest, while Naruto had been imprisoned for several days with no medical treatment whatsoever. She had not even seen or heard from Jiraiya for at least a week since the retrieval mission had ended, and she hadn't had any contact from outside her compound, other than Shizune, who herself wasn't under house arrest, was the one giving Tsunade information of the deteriorating situation in the village, including the bar brawl turned street riot and the surprising singing talent Mido guy actually had, and also found the Opanoins with the members of the Konoha 11 being surprised that Tenten and Lee were the ones that supported Naruto, although after reading Naruto's file, it was revealed that these two were in fact fellow orphans and childhood friends of Naruto, which had impressed her enough of thinking of making Tenten her apprentice instead of Sakura. She was also worried about Naruto and his upcoming trial, and wondering whether Naruto would be exiled meant that Naruto wouldn't be able to defend himself against Akatsuki as was standard with exiled shinobi. She decided then and there that she would gather all of Naruto's secret supporters after getting rid of the Anbu guarding her for a meeting to figure out a way to rescue Naruto, allow him to at least escape the village with his chakra network intact. X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X X. 1 week later after successful Sasuke retrieval mission. Naruto's prison cell. During the last few days Naruto had been visited by most of the Konoha 11 who had shown their way of showing their appreciation of his efforts. The first to visit was Kiba who decided to repeatedly beat him with a club for a few hours screaming and calling him demon repeatedly. Eventually he pissed on him and walked out laughing. The next two people to visit were Shikamaru and Choji who had at first Naruto believed would come and support him, instead began to insult him. When this type of torture failed, Shikamaru used Kage Kubishibari no Jutsu, shadow binding technique, to strangle and restrain Naruto, while Choji punched and stabbed Naruto in the jaw until it broke his jaw to pieces and Naruto had passed out from pain. They left him bleeding on the cell floor. The next day, as he had expected, Sakura and Ino had shown up the next day in the evening, entering his cell. By this time he had once again, due to the kyuubi, he had fully healed once again. It seemed that the chakra suppressor seals that was used on him didn't suppress yokai, which in his opinion extremely stupid as he could use kyuubi's yokai to free himself. He had decided to try to talk to the kyuubi the night before to ensure that there were no mind intrusions. He was gonna let the kyuubi loose to feed on any unwitting mind walkers. From searching his mind, what he found, there was something he did not expect. At first he didn't believe it, he thought it was a trick by the kyuubi to insult him, but this was untrue. He met his parents. They had told him that they had sealed the last of their chakra after the sealing of the kyuubi to assist him to both resealing the kyuubi in case the seal was too damaged. His father would repair it and his mother, when he was ready, would assist Naruto in gaining control of the kyuubi's chakra and yokai. But as an unseen side effect of the massive amount of seals on him at the moment, it had caused them to manifest themselves within Naruto's mindscape and were in a state between rage and shame. Rage for how their son was being treated growing up, then now when their former friends and comrades in the council had betrayed not only their final wish before their deaths to view their son as a hero, and shame to face their son to let him know the reasons they, although reluctantly, sealed a demon in his gut. After they had met their son, they had sworn that any mindwalkers that enter his head would be shown there the pain of their betrayal. They were even gonna let the kyuubi have a bit of fun as well, and were even now, as the two Uchiha fangirls were glaring at their son, they had recognized the blonde girl as a Yamanaka, so they prepared themselves to receive their guest. Sakura and Ino walked up to Naruto and glared at him as if he was the worst scum before Sakura suddenly reeled back her fists and hit him in the face, causing more of his new teeth to fly out of his mouth while Sakura was screaming. "I trusted you to bring Sasuke-kun home safe and sound. Why? My aunt was right, you caused Sasuke-kun to be hospitalized, you demon." This went on for about 10 minutes. Sakura's hands had gone red from the repeated punches, while Naruto was still defiantly glaring at his former teammate. Despite the various painful bruises and broken bones, Naruto still has it in him to taunt her. "Ha ha ha, poor helpless Sakura, useless fangirl, your parents following in your bitch of an aunt footsteps, ha ha, your parents would be disappointed, ah." She had once again dislocated Naruto's jaw, once again leaving him coughing out blood. Sakura was about to punch Naruto once again before a hand gripped her shoulder. Sakura looked back at her friend and rival who said, "Sakura, you've had your turn torturing the demon, now it's my turn. What are gonna do to it?" Ino grinned and said, "Instead of beating up like everybody else already did, I'm gonna go torture it by tearing apart its mind with my family's mind jutsus." "Isn't that a bit dangerous, Ino bunta pig?" "Not to me, it ain't. I'm the Yamanaka clan heiress, I'll be fine." Before they could continue their conversation, Naruto interrupted Ino. "I really hope you're not thinking of entering my head, because if you do you are seriously gonna regret it. Ha. That just proves that you have secrets worth keeping. Maybe if I look hard enough in your demonic head, I can find out how to permanently kill you." "Fine, then it's not my fault if you go into a coma from looking too deep into whatever the hell you gonna do." "I regret nothing, demon. Shintention no jutsu mind body switch technique." Stupid fangirl. Within Naruto's mindscape, instead of just taking control of Naruto's body, Ino was instead dragged into Naruto's mindscape, which, as Ino had expected, Naruto's mind was a sewer. Ino began to search for Naruto's memories when she suddenly felt a very dark, malicious killing intent stopped her dead in her tracks. Then a deep booming voice was heard. "Stupid little Uchiha fangirl, you dare enter my domain, don't hide in the dark, me and my roommates wanna see you about something." Ino, confused at what the voice was implying, thought that it was just Naruto's consciousness trying to scare her away, so with bravado, she shouted back, "Shut, demon. You don't scare me, I will find where all your memories are, and when I do I will destroy every good memory." "Oh damn, you really are a little bitch, aren't you? If it's a demon you want to see, then come here, little bitch." "Shut up, Naruto, I've been trained by my father, I know this is just a defense mechanism of the With that, Ino was suddenly jerked forward and seemingly flew to wherever ominous voice came from while flying at breakneck speeds that in real life would reduce a human body to mush. Ino was dragged through the sewer until jerking to a stop in front of a massive corridor with what seemed like a golden cage with golden bars and a slip of paper with a kanji for seal. From within the cage itself she saw two huge eyes and a huge mouth full of teeth staring back at her. "Well, little bitch, come closer, you wanted to see a real demon, then come closer." Ino, unsure where she actually was forced to walk along the corridor until finally she had arrived at the front of the cage where she waited. "Well? What did you want to talk about?" As a huge orange paw landed near her while against the bars of the cage was a huge red fox with an enraged expression on its vulpine face. "Curse you, bitch, and your traitorous clan. Your clan and the other traitor clans ruined the peace my father created. Because of you most of my family is dead or imprisoned. And for what? For greed? For jealousy? If I ever emerge from this cage, you little bitch, I swear I will use you weakened bones as toothpicks. You all threaten one of my last known relative and you think I'd let you? I swear on my father's blood I will wipe you and your blood and all the blood of the traitors. If Naruto is executed, I will wreak havoc. I will finish what I started all those years ago. And this time no Yondaime, no Samdaime to save your asses. Now get out of Naruto's head and relay why you see can't he do that, why your SS sealed." As if to make fun of Ino, the fox grinned an evil smile and answered back, "OHH, I know that, but my two roommates aren't." Slowly two shadowy figure moved up just behind Ino as she felt two arms grab both her shoulders as Ino, slowly frightened, turned to face the two unknown people only to gasp in both fear and surprise. The person to her left was a man with blonde spiky hair reminiscent of Naruto's hair with a white sleeveless haori with red flames at the bottom. Ino could only whisper in fear the name and title of the man before her. "Why Yondaime Sama Hokage? No, not anymore, not after what you and the village have done." With a painful grip to her right, she was forced to face the person to her right. It was a woman with a round face once again resembling Naruto's features with bright red hair which were at this moment floating into nine tail-like spikes as this woman was slowly leaked a huge amount of killing intent. Ino, although at first didn't recognize this woman, remembered during one of their history lessons when Naruto was kicked out about notable leaf kunoichi in history, and although due to the fact that she was concentrating on Sasuke's hair and face at the time, only remembered two of the kunoichi mentioned. They were the Slug Princess Tsunade Senju and the Red Death Kushina Uzumaki. At that time she was one of the very few in the class that had asked a question that was at that time a spur of the moment. She had asked why Naruto had the same last name as a famous kunoichi like Kushina Uzumaki, only to be brushed off by the teacher. She quickly forgot her question and went back to admiring Sasuke's hair. DT the Red DT Death. DRRRR growl. Minato turned towards the cage containing the kyuubi who had laid down to sleep once again and said, "Kyuubi, it's our turn now." "Of course I've said what I wanted to say, go ahead." Then the kyuubi suddenly lifted its huge head in questioning manner and asked, "Wait forth, what are you two gonna do to the little bitch?" Minato just looked up at the fox from his normal calm expression which quickly grew to a huge demonic grin and said, "What are gonna do with her? We will make the little bitch feel Naruto's most traumatizing memories. We're gonna break her mentally by forcing her to be in Naruto's viewpoint, especially the ones that involved her father. We shall make her feels Naruto's pain." The kyuubi, also sporting a demonic grin, happily said, "Oh dear sage, you two are so vengeful, I love it, couldn't have done something more fucked as what you two wanna do." "Yes, we know." Minato turned back towards Ino and Kushina and nodded and quickly performed a seal-less Shunshin no Jutsu body flicker technique with Ino in tow. The nine-tailed demon fox opened one of its great eyes and snickered. "The fools in this village, they had given my family the chance to escape this forced bondage after so long. Maybe I can finally help my remaining family finally return home. I want to come home. I want to return to my birthplace where father lays buried, to visit his grave, to pay my respects. Maybe that's where we're destined to go, me and my container and relative, back to the western continent." The fox, as it once again fell asleep, thought to itself, "Well, we'll see where this situation leads my family into, no need to worry about until much later." Meanwhile, with Minato, Kushina and Ino, when all three had arrived at their destination Naruto's memory room, Kushina threw Ino to the floor, injuring Ino's broken shoulder further, with Ino trying to crawl away and attempting to escape the angry legendary shinobi, only to receive a foot to her back, effectively stopping her from moving. "Where do you think you're going, little bitch? Did you think that we'd let you crawl away from us? Did your family let Naruto go when he tried to escape from mobs? No, your father attacked Naruto with his jutsu. If it weren't for the kyuubi, he would have turned Naruto into a vegetable." At this moment, Minato decided to join in on the talking and kneel to face Ino. "Do you know why we are so angry? Do you? Did you notice Naruto's resemblance to the both of us? Well, he's a nameless orphan. My father and mother told me his father was a demon and his mother was a whore that the demon fucked." Kushina grew enraged and exclaimed, "What?" and swiftly added more pressure to Ino's spine. Minato got up and put a calming hand to Kushina's shoulder and said, calm down Kushina-chan, I'm angry at them too, but we can't get to them yet, so relax, okay? Kushina nodded and released her foot a bit. Minato turned back down to Ino and asked once again, you don't understand, do you, who we are to Naruto, do you? I thought that you were here to control the demon, so why? Why are you doing this to me? You should be helping me. Not hurting me. Minato face-palmed and said, we, and I mean me and Kushina, are here to control the demon, but it's not to hurt Naruto, it's to help him use Kyuubi's power. Beside, what parents would both of us be if we didn't care for our son's well-being? Why, you're the demon's parents. Kushina lifted her foot and Ino, at first feeling relieved, was suddenly kicked across the room, landing against the wall where Kushina moved quickly to grasp Ino by the neck, slowly choking her. Kushina said, my son is no demon. Do you understand me? Can you get it through your thick fangirl skull? Kushina moved her head closer to Ino's and said, do you want to know a secret? Huh? Your mother was the whore, not me. She only says things like that because she was one of my husband's fangirls. Your mother was a failure of a shinobi, she didn't even pass her genin test, so she quit along with Kizashi Haruno's sister Saikirian. I'll explain later at the end of the chapter. They both got in their collective fangirl heads to start sleeping with high-ranking council members. Eventually your bitch of a friend's aunt eventually fucked her way into a council seat, and your mother fucked her way into the Yamanaka clan. Heck, from rumors I heard before your mother married your father, she fucked your grandfather on her wedding day. You're probably the result of that. Kushina let go of Ino's neck and left her gasping for air on the floor. When Ino found her voice, she asked, why? Why are you telling me this? To make you understand that you shouldn't listen to a slut like your mother. Now then, on to what we were gonna do to you. Ino looked at both of them nervously before Minato answered, we are gonna force you to relive Naruto's worst moments in his life. You will experience every rock, garbage, fist and feet that had ever injured our son. You will feel all his emotions that he felt, his despair, his loneliness. You will feel every attempt to end his life with his own hands. You will feel yourself being burnt alive on his birthdays. You will feel his betrayals of those he was meant to trust. We shall show you who the true demons are. Every night when you sleep you will remember every second of it. When you close your eyes you will hear his cries, feel his tears. You wanted to destroy our son by destroying his mind. Well, we're gonna do it to you. Oh yes, my wife will even put a seal on you that will kill any Yamanaka mindwalkers that try to heal your mind. Our forms will manifest and kill them. You will never heal to the final days of your life. You will remember the sins of Konohagakure no Sato against our son. Minato turned to his wife, who nodded and summoned a number of chakra chains out of her back to restrain Ino. Now then, let's begin. Hi. To be continued. Chapter 2. Exiled Fox. Within the seal. After Ino is forced to experience Naruto's past history, dropped to the ground in tears, having started scratching her face, which left forth in lines of blood from sheer stress from viewing what in her own opinion was the most horrifying experience she had seen. In an attempt to keep her calm, she closed her eyes only to receive a vision of her father killing one of Naruto's female friends by disembowelment amid Naruto's pleas and her father laughter. Ino bolts upright and starts mumbling, no more, please, no more, please, I don't want to see any more, I don't want it to, please someone take it away, I don't want to see any more, please. She was doing this while crying on the floor. This was the scene that Minato and Kushina came upon, a crying girl repeatedly moaning to herself. Kushina decided to nudge the girl with her foot and said, bitch, calm down. Hey, we can't send you back out if we don't give you our final instructions, so calm the fuck down now. Ino had immediately flinched back, nodding desperately with her face clearly showing the multiple scratches running along her face, her eyes bloodshot from all tears she had shed. I'll be good, please, no more, please let me go home, please. Kushina smirks, then asked, now that you had seen our son's life, who are the true demons? Well, our son or Konoha. Answer me. Now. Ayakk Konoha, so much pain, so much pain. Minato heaves a sigh and puts his hand to his forehead and mumbles, ha, Kushina-chan, I think she couldn't take being in Naruto's shoes, ha, little girl. Yes, Yondaime-sama. Minato nods, then gives her instructions to Ino. First, when the trial for Naruto begins you will warn them what will happen if Naruto is killed. Me and Kushina-chan have added a seal to the kyuubi, which will stop anyone from being able to reseal kyuubi, so that means that if he is killed, kyuubi will be released straight away the second of his death. The second seal is an anti-mind control seal, so no Sharingan can control kyuubi anymore. It also means that he won't have areas on to attack anyone after the kyuubi destroys Konoha for all its sins they have committed against our family. Tell this to your council. If Naruto dies, Konoha will be destroyed, not one person will survive, all will die, even the women and children will be killed. Not even the animals will survive. By the time it's over, Konoha will be reduced to a crater of melted glass. It goes the same if Naruto is permanently imprisoned, it would result in the same thing happening. Naruto can induce the kyuubi's release through suicide, and we know the kyuubi will fulfill our wishes, because unlike humans who are prone to breaking promises and betraying others, demons in fact have more honor than humans. They keep their promises, they value children, demon or human, all children are precious to them, they would never purposely hurt a child, so now get out and stay out, only Naruto can release you from your nightmares. Why yes, why Yandame-sama. At this Ino felt herself getting dragged away. She was ejected from Naruto's mindscape. The looming shadow is seen behind Minato and Kushina in the shape of the kyuubi, which caused both Minato and Kushina to turn around and face the massive nine-tailed fox, who was looking at them with an amused look on its face. Ah, good riddance to traitorous trash. If that little bitch had stayed around here any longer I would have eaten her, child or not. Kushina nodded her head and answered, yup, now that the brat's gone can I start using your real name again? Oji-san, uncle. I don't see why not. Both of you had earned the right, though your son still has to prove himself to earn that privilege of knowing my real name. We have full faith that he will earn it and work hard to know. The Foz agreed with them with a vulpine grin and then said, now say my name loud and clear. Both Kushina and Minato nodded at the same time and loudly exclaimed Kurama Oji-san. Meanwhile 1 minute outside the seal. Outside it seemed Naruto and Ino to people unfamiliar with the Yamanaka family, jutsu would look like they were in a staring competition, but to others that were Ino would be mind-walking Naruto's mind, though it should have taken less longer, instead it had lasted a full minute before there was any sound at all made in the cold dark cell. Finally it seemed that the jutsu had finally come to an end, causing Ino to slump to the ground, exhausted, causing Sakura to panic, and waving her hand to fan the moaning Ino, with the breaking of the jutsu, had also freed Naruto, who was instead of losing consciousness like Ino was shaking his head to get rid of the drowsiness, as if he was waking up from a nap. Naruto looked around his cell spotting the downed Ino and the frantic Sakura, causing him to smirk at the fangirl duo slowly giggling, eventually turning into a full-blown laughter. Hahaha, I told her that she shouldn't have went into my head. He moved his head slightly to face the now conscious Ino and asked, hey Ino, how was your walk? Did you learn how to kill me yet? Or did you learn something else? Something you'll never forget? Come on, you can say it, can't you? Tell Sakura to kill me, go ahead, do it. Tell her what you learned, tell her my secrets. Sakura, angered at Naruto's taunting, drew a kunai and attempted to stab him, only to be stopped by Ino, who had grabbed her arm and stopped the forward thrust. Ino had a pleading look on her face as she quietly said, Sakura, please don't, you have no idea what such a bad idea killing him is gonna become. If you do I need to warn my father and the council. Sakura backed down and had a puzzled look on her face and decided to ask what Ino meant. Warn them? About what? Ino lowers her head, remembering Naruto's memories and the warning by his parents. To her, if Naruto dies Konoha will fall. What do you mean by that? I can't tell you, I'm forbidden. Who? Please Sakura, I can't tell you, just believe me, do not hurt Naruto or everyone in the village will regret it. Sakura humphed in frustration and nodded, alright, then fine, have it your way. I still don't believe you though, the demon must have messed with you head. Sakura, if you found out the things I know you'd feel ashamed about. Naruto being imprisoned isn't the worst that has happened to him. Alright, let's go tell your dad about it, then he'll decide what to do with the information. Ino briefly closes her eyes and receives a vision. A child starving in ragged clothes staring, lying in an alleyway, most of his body covered in snow, his face pale from hunger. He thought of some things he wished he knew, and his final thoughts. Saiyan mother, do Saiyan father, would you have been proud of me, or would you have shunned me like the rest? I'm going to die. Is this how it's like to die? It's so cold. The boy clenches his fists and starts to cry. Damn them, this fucking village, those fucking villagers, and those twice damned shinobi, damn them all. I wanted to be Hokage, a shinobi, a father, damn it. I'm sorry Hokage Jiji Tenten-chan, Lee-sen, I hope you don't cry for me. But that Naruto slowly closed his eyes, the freezing cold and hunger making him drowsy, just as he was going to sleep. Shadow appeared after that, he saw nothing. Then his eyes snapped open after her vision to find that Sakura had left her behind and Naruto was looking at her curiously. For a short, well, neither spoke before Naruto spoke himself. I know what was happening to you, so this was their punishment, to forever remember all of this village's sins and stupidity. Ino, instead of saying anything, stood up and headed for the cell door. Just as she was about to leave, Naruto called out to her, hey. Ino, do you hate this village? Its betrayal and its stupidity? Do you hate your parents? Ino momentarily stopped and turned her head and slowly nodded in answer. That's all I wanted to know. Remember, give the council my parents warnings or by the end of the week or there won't be any mercy on Konoha. Meanwhile, in the Senju compound, during the last few days Tsunade had been searching for any of Naruto's supporters, using Shizune to send word to gather as many of them as possible to try to free Naruto before he gets his chakra sealed and are executed. The results were a small but very strong group of shinobi. At least a whole Anbu team led by Yugao Yuzuki, who she later found out were actually the decent protection detail of Naruto's during his childhood, along with Weasel Itachi and Crow Shisui, until through the council replaced them with Kakashi's Anbu team, who were viewed by the third Hokage as a bunch of child-hating sons of bitches who were later sent on several suicide missions by the third Hokage, decimating the team to only Tenzo and Kakashi Haddock, many being under the third Hokage, were buried gleefully by Yugao's team in unmarked graves all over the elemental nations, some of the missions being rigged by the third Hokage from the very beginning. His secret reasoning: I don't trust Kakashi's team, they in the most somewhat chance that Naruto does become Hokage, would probably stab Naruto in the back, and I'll be damned if that were to happen. The other jonin that supported Naruto were of course Asuma Sarutobi and Mito Gai, who have been vocally expressing their support for the past few days, getting into fights repeatedly with both shinobi and civilian. Asuma's support of Naruto actually started when Naruto had been during his lonely days and had at first blamed Naruto for his mother's death, but after his father had taken him aside and asked Asuma to observe Naruto during the day to see what his life was really like. The results of that day actually was one pivotal in Asuma's decision to join the 12 Guardians. Out of both shame and anger against the village, it only got worse when he figured out who Naruto's parents actually were. This assumption being confirmed by his father secretly, he swore to return to the village only when Naruto became a genin, so he could be his sensei, only to be beaten by Kakashi, who went straight to the council to supersede his father in team compositions. Mito Gai's support came from finding out that his adopted son Lee was in fact friends with Naruto in the orphanage. He himself held no prejudice towards Naruto, so he had every time when possible got Naruto and Lee to play together, and soon, meeting the third and only female friend, and once again another orphan newly adopted Tenten Higurashi and her adoptive father Ryu Higurashi. Despite what a large amount of their fellow shinobis and neighbors say, they still viewed Naruto as a boy, nothing more nothing less. Although on occasion through once again the machinations of the three councils, he was forbidden to help Naruto during his birthdays under pain of torture and death of his adoptive son. He later had found out that the Anbu squad that were meant to protect him on his birthdays were led by Kakashi Haddock, who would as evidenced ignore Naruto's pleas from help and sometime even joining in on the beatings, putting a huge strain on their rivalry friendship. Only one Takubetsu jonin had joined, which was Anko Mitarashi, former student of Orochimaru of the Sannin, and also called the Snake Whore of Konoha. She had sided with Tsunade after the council had announced that Sasuke Uchiha was eligible for CRA Clan Restoration Act due to being the last of his clan, with additional information being that all of Sasuke Uchiha's council arranged marriages were now in full effect. She had ended up in an argument with her now former best friend Kurenai Yuuhi, who had willingly agreed to become a member of Sasuke's growing harem of women when Kurenai politely suggested she volunteer. Anko slapped her and was about to beat her friend when Asuma stopped her, spoke to her about the plan to escape from Konoha. Anko herself didn't have anything against Naruto and even admired his courage, even when faced with death by the councils, and she only had to think about it for a few seconds and then readily agreed. Several chunin also lent their support, most prominent being Iruka Yamino, Kitetsu Hagain and Izumo Kamizuki, and a number of somewhat background chunin who were a lot more open-minded than many other. Sadly, only 2 of the Konoha 11 were in support of Naruto. These were 2 longtime friends and fellow orphans, Tenten Higurashi, adopted daughter of a blacksmith, Ryu Higurashi, and Rock Lee, both having sworn an oath to one another to support each other as family. Tsunade had expected Hinata Hyuga to come in support of Naruto. Instead, she had learned that her father had put under house arrest and attempting to negotiate an arranged marriage for his daughter and Sasuke Uchiha with the civilian council, attempting to do the same with Tenten Higurashi, but fortunately Ryu Higurashi had told the council to go fuck themselves, although they kept persisting using threats and outright assaults to get him to agree, only for those thugs sent to intimidate him being sent home with smashed in ribs or coming home in body bags. Got his point across, he'll die first before he forces his adopted daughter into a forced marriage. Along with this was the grandson of Hiruzen Sarutobi, Konohamaru Sarutobi, his 2 other friends choosing to side with their grandparents, Yuden Mitokado, grandson of Hamura Mitokado, and Mogi Udatane, granddaughter of Kaharu Udatane, both being quite young, had been easy to manipulate, causing the group to fall apart, once again leaving Konohamaru without companionship. The only civilians that were present within the group were the Ichiraku family and Ryu Higurashi. Further saddening, Tsunade at so few civilians were in the group showed how little the civilian population actually cared for Naruto. This whole group was currently meeting due to certain screw-ups by the council allowed Tsunade to choose which team of Anbu she wanted to keep her under house arrest, so yes, somebody was seriously very negligent or stupid. Those that didn't know about Naruto's heritage were told within the group. Surprisingly, it seemed that Tenten and Lee actually already knew by just plain reading books or reading old defunct bingo books on names and dates of death of people with the name Uzumaki, or just staring up at the Hokage mountain, then looking at Naruto they would see the resemblance. The number of Chunin actually broke down into tears at failing their old leader and immediately swore to rescue Naruto, even if it cost them their lives. There was actually already a plan of action to rescue Naruto, the first step being Naruto is immediately rescued from his jail cell and taken into the Namikaze compound with Tenten, Lee and Konohamaru until the coast was clear during the chaos. Tsunade would retrieve the forbidden scroll of sealing and take it to Naruto to study, and the whole group would flee after they had contacted Jiraiya and meet at safe point, and then flee to one of the countries that view Naruto as a hero, and eventually gather a large number of allies to reconquer Konohagakure no Sado. They had all decided that this plan would be enacted this evening on the same day when the guards were weakest, and hopefully by the next day the village would have been thrown into chaos, weakening the guards and patrols in the conciliatory attempt to quell the chaos. The whole group would flee in the coming chaos, with Naruto safely hidden. Within the council room after Ino and Sakura's visit to Naruto's cell, the whole council had been gathered at the urgent request of Ino Yamanaka concerning village security. Many believed that she had finally found out a way for them to permanently kill the demon, so of course everyone came to the council room running excitedly, despite preparing feasts after the demon was executed or exiled. When the council members arriving saw Ino Yamanaka and sitting solemnly in the middle of the council room alongside an annoyed-looking Sakura Haruno. After around a quarter of an hour later the council room was full to bursting with the clan heads, having brought their clan heirs to the meeting, and even the newly awakened Sasuke Uchiha had been brought to the meeting in a wheelchair. The civilian councillors bring a number of their children as well. If one were to look at this spectacle, it would seem like a circus show ready to start. Finally the Hokage and the two elders had arrived, causing everyone to bow in respect. As the room was filling, Ino thought of what she had found out, and as she looked at all the smug faces in the room she felt a huge urge to vomit. She had seen many of these people in Naruto's memories, every single one of them guilty, all of them child abusers, rapists, pedophiles, murderers. It made her sick to be even breathing the same as them. Danzo, wearing the Hokage hat, got the whole room to quiet down by beating a gavel and exclaimed, "I, Danzo Shimura, incumbent 6th Hokage, hereby begin this emergency meeting of the 3 councils of Konohagakure no Sado at the request of Yamanaka clan heiress Ino Yamanaka. Now you may all be seated so that we can begin this meeting." Danzo turned his head, Ino meeting eye to eye with one of the most heinous sinners in Naruto's memories. "Miss Yamanaka, you have called us all here because I received word from Miss Haruno that you mindwalked a demon's mind for weaknesses. What have you to report?" Ino stood up and took a deep breath and in a loud voice said, "Honorable councils, I, Ino Yamanaka, have indeed mindwalked Naruto Uzumaki's mind to probe for any weaknesses. It was a partial success." Chikaku Nara, still in bandages from Tsunade's recent rage episode, asked, "What do you mean partial success?" Ino turned to look at Shikaku. Even in bandages she could still remember his face from one of Naruto's memories, where he and a number of shinobi had attacked Naruto and a number of other street children and had used one of his shadow jutsus to capture one child, the girl, and he used his shadow to strangle the girl in front of Naruto, who had been captured by a number of Nara. While smirking she could still hear his voice in her head, "Troublesome demon brat, you have polluted this girl with your demonic presence. Now because of you I'll have to cleanse her by killing her. Sorry little girl, but demons don't deserve to have any friends." She could still hear Naruto's screams in her head, even as she looked at him. "Well, when I entered his mindscape I immediately came into a contact with an unknown voice, demanding why I was in there. At first I thought it was one of Naruto's mental defenses, but then it forced me to come to it. I was dragged to the location of the voice where I..." Amura looked at her when she paused. "Where you what?" "Yamanaka-san. Where I encountered the 9-tailed demon fox." With her statement the whole room burst into chaos, everyone screaming and the clan heir looking extremely confused and doubtful. Finally, having enough of all the shouting, Danzo raised his killing intent. Despite not having the same level as the 3rd Hokage, it was still strong enough that everyone had stopped arguing and shouting and calmed down. Danzo, after calming the room, turned towards Ino once again to question her. "You say you encountered the 9-tailed demon fox, then Yamanaka-san, how are you still alive?" "When I encountered the fox it was in a gated area. It couldn't reach me due to some seal on the gate that stopped it completely. It did manage to attempt to attack me with one of its paws though, while banging its head against the gate in an attempt to attack me." The hero interrupted and said, "It just means you have encountered the demon's true self, and our seals are in fact effective in sealing away the demon's power." This statement was answered with clapping and cheers. Danzo, inwardly impressed, motioned for Ino to continue. "After this I encountered the 2 guardians of the seal. Josa Akimichi decided to interrupt. Ino turned her head to face another of the secret traitors. Within Naruto's memories, Choza, whenever he finds out that Naruto has a new pet, orders his clan other than Choji to capture Naruto, and his pet he forces Naruto to watch as they eat his pet alive. Another secret he keeps is he has a room full of pelts from Naruto's pets, 3 cats, 4 dogs, and 7 puppies and dogs, and even 1 giant tiger cub from the Forest of Death. Who were the 2 guardians, Yamanaka-san? Ino curtly shook her head and refused to give names. I am sorry, Akimichi-sama, but the guardians themselves have done a number of things that ensured that I can't speak their names. After much interrogation they released me after they ordered me to send you all a message. Hiashi asked curtly. Well, what's the warning then? Don't waste our time with suspense. Hiashi Hyuga, a so-called noble clan, had half a clan of slaves, the other a group of masters. Within Naruto's memories, he and a number of main house members had hunted Naruto and some street urchins he had befriended when they were captured. He forced Naruto to watch as he used Jyuken strikes to the heart to cause all his friends' hearts to burst. She remembered after that they had beaten Naruto within an inch of life and then proceeded to urinate on him. For this insult alone, Naruto's parents swore that if they were ever revived, they would rip out Hiashi's eyes from their sockets before pouring molten silver down his throat. Ino nodded stiffly and answered. The guardians of the seal were displeased with how Naruto was mistreated, decided as a form of retribution, gave the kyuubi a number of seals that makes it impossible to control or to seal away into another vessel. This would occur in 3 scenarios. The first scenario is in case of imprisonment, he can use the kyuubi's yakai chakra to commit suicide. The second scenario is if his chakra network is sealed away, it would automatically activate a seal that would release the kyuubi once again into the world. The third scenario is if Naruto is executed. Not only would the kyuubi would be released, the guardians themselves would also be released and will murder anyone present during Naruto's execution if the kyuubi hadn't already. This caused a large number of gasps and a number of people who were drinking water to spit out the water in a stream, followed by screaming and crying. Inoichi Yamanaka asked with a shaking voice, Ino-chan, why are the guardians of the seals so concerned for the demon? Inoichi, her 2 sen, was another of Konoha's secret monsters during Naruto's childhood. He attacked Naruto, who was with a number of other children, including many girls with members of his clan. Why will to sell them, of course. Unknown to common people, the Yamanaka clan had a share in a child prostitution racket that operated out of their flower shops, selling very young girls to sleazy old rich men. In this memory, he and the clan hunted Naruto and a small group of his friends. It wasn't long before they were captured, and he was forced to watch as the Yamanaka took turns sexually assaulting one of his female friends. When it was over, the rest of his friends were dragged away, leaving him alone. When he begged to be told where they were being taken, Inoichi answered, where all whores go. Ino curtly answered, well, 2 sen, this was the only thing they allow me to say about them. They said they were his parents. Tsume suddenly screamed, what? That's impossible, demons don't have parents. This woman sent her ninkin to maul Naruto to death, only for her personal ninkin Kuromaru to lose an eye from an angry Naruto, and from the heavily wounded ninkin's rambling, and Naruto had eaten his eye out of sheer desperation and rage, and just a large bit of hunger from malnutrition. Since then, Kuromaru would purposely avoid Naruto lest Naruto rip out his other eye as well. Ino shook her head sadly. It's true, and they are very angry. If Naruto is killed, they will rise from their graves and kill everyone. Then Ino promptly left the room amid a very uncomfortable silence. The silence was broken by a distant explosion originating in the Anbu prison. What the hell is happening? Are we under attack? The Ashi activated is by Akugan Danzo-sama. It's coming from the demon cell, sir. Danzo immediately gave his orders. Hiashi, Tsume, get your best trackers. We are gonna find those demon-loving traitors and execute them. Tsume and Hiashi at the same time, sir. Yes, sir. Shikaku was stuck at the door. He called back to everyone in the room, the doors are jammed, we can't get out, Danzo-sama. Danzo sat back down and huffed, forget it everyone, I've got a plan B in case of the demons escape. With this, everyone calmed down and just waited as the disorganized shinobi and Anbu were running around like headless chickens. Ten minutes before the explosion, Naruto was meditating in his cell when he heard a commotion outside. Plank, ah shit, we're under attack. Hurry. Someone send word to the Anbu, we need to ahhhhhh. Shink. Shit. We can't hold them. Somebody get to the demon cell, kill it. Now. For Danzo-sama. Die traitors. Stab, thud. Naruto was preparing himself for anything, some crazy shinobi at worst, but well, he truly wished that it was a rescue team. He prepared himself to overload the seals holding him down with the kyuubi's yakai. The footsteps. Clack, who could they be, Naruto thought. Clack, never, I'm not going down without a fight. With determined look he mentally began to destroy the seals holding him down. Black damn it, just a little more. Silhouettes of a number of people just beyond his eyesight caused him to increase his efforts to free himself. Is that any way to say thank you to your rescue team, Naruto-kun? Naruto blinked, then lost his concentration. Tenten-chan. Emerging from the shadows was one of his last few remaining friends, and as of now only living female friend left in his life was Tenten Higurashi, his true secret crush, and one of his most precious people in his life, here smiling while twirling one of her many kunai as if it was another training session. Soon all of his other would-be rescuers emerged from the shadows, causing him to begin crying. Bachan, Nai-sans, and even Nico Nichan, you all came to save me. I so happy, thank you all, now I know that at least some people care about me. Having bowed in true appreciation, Tsunade had to stop all Naruto and exclaimed, Naruto-kun, we really don't have for this, Yugao, if you would do the honors. Naruto looked at his adopted cat-masked adoptive sister, who by now had already removed her Anbu mask, only to gasp at what she looked like. Ona-chan, you're beautiful. Yugao made an uncharacteristic smile. Now Neri-chan, no time for flirting right now, rescuing you is priority. With this she used her sword skills to cut the lock on the door with her Anbu standard issue ninjato. But the lock broken, Tenten was the first to rush to Naruto's side as she literally pushed everyone else to get to Naruto first. Seeing the multiple bloodstains on his orange tracksuit, immediately started hugging Naruto-kun. I'm so sorry we couldn't get you sooner, we had to get ready for all of us to escape. Then-chan, can't breathe, you're breaking my spine, wait just a minute, gonna release all the seals. Tenten immediately released Naruto as he started taking deep breaths finally, after focusing all his concentration. Alright then, Dai Fuin-kai. Causing all the seals to start breaking all over his body, finally capable of moving, he stood up and stretched to get all the kinks out. Naruto turning towards his rescuers, so where are we going? Tsunade walked up to him and gave him a quick hug. We are taking you to what should have been your from the beginning of your life, we are taking you to the Namikaze compound. Naruto ended scratching his head and said, wow, so we're going to my family home finally, my parents would be so happy. Everyone had a surprised look before Tsunade shakily said, you know who your parents are? Naruto just grinned and swiftly embraced Tenten by the hips. I may not be able to do this soon, so I'm gonna do it right now. And started a 30-second makeout session amid blushing by the women and the cheers of the men present. Stopping only after Tsunade decided to interrupt the two by coughing loudly, not that I don't mind you two wanting to literally rip each other's clothes off, we are in the middle of a rescue. Naruto embarrassed scratched his head, while Tenten blushed, he right, sorry. Turning back toward the other shinobi, Tsunade gave out her orders, alright everyone, place as many explosive tags all over the walls, make sure that nothing is left of this place. Yes ma'am. After less than 3 minutes all of the tags had been placed, the whole team was fleeing the area where the Jinchuriki cell was. Boom. Naruto turned back around and laughed, good riddance. Several minutes later in front of the Namikaze compound, Naruto and the rescue team had after several minutes arrived at the front of the Namikaze compound after receiving mental instructions to put his blood on the Uzumaki symbol on the gate, which acted as a blood seal and preservation seal. At the same time the gate had opened to an overgrown garden, which must have during his parents' lifetime been beautiful. After making their way inside, once again due to a blood seal on the door, everyone was ushered to the lounge room area to discuss further planning. Tsunade sat on a couch and looked at everyone, alright, good job everyone, the first phase of the plan was a complete success, now the second phase of the plan is to wait until tomorrow, as everyone gathers what they want to bring along on our exile. I have also received word that Jiraiya will be meet with us at Kanabi Bridge in Kusagakure. Alright, here what we'll do, Naruto, I want you create as many clones to gather everything in this house and everything, understand? Naruto nods his head rapidly and understanding, good boy. Now Tenten, because you and Naruto seems hell-bent on ripping each other's clothes off, you'll be inscribing storage seals all over Naruto's body for all the things in this house. Oh, and don't faint, Naruto has to be butt naked when you put on the seals. Tenten blushed and nodded her head as well. Tsunade turns her head toward Rock Lee and Konohamaru, you two will remain here with Naruto and Tenten, we're gonna seal the compound from the inside so no one notices that you are in here, okay? Tsunade turns back to all the other shinobi, everyone else stay low until we leave tomorrow, understood? I will be sending you all slug summons to signal phase 2. Naruto got a curious look and asked, what are you gonna be doing, Bachan? Tsunade grinned a mischievous smile, oh, I'm gonna do the same thing you did, I'm gonna steal the forbidden scroll of sealing and trading it for a fake scroll full of yaoi porn. Bachan, that is so devious, pure fucking genius. Then Naruto remembered something important, wait Bacchanal, what about the Uzumaki mask temple? Ka-san told me I had to get a very specific mask from the temple and keep it on me, is it alright to go and retrieve it? Tsunade thinks for a few moments then nods her head in agreement, I'll let you go, but only when you have done all the things I have ordered you to do, is that understood? Naruto does a salute and shouted, yes Bachan ma'am. The rest of the night Naruto, Tenten, Lee and Konohamaru spent all night gathering family heirlooms and jutsu scrolls into a secured area guarded by Naruto's shadow clones. Afterwards Tenten and Naruto spent some alone time working on Naruto's storage seals. With Naruto and Tenten. Naruto and Tenten, after finishing packing and sealing all of Naruto's family property, they asked Lee and Konohamaru to watch the compound while the two of them headed quietly toward the Uzumaki clan mask storage temple. During their journey, Tenten, curious as she was, wondered when Naruto started having a crush on her and how deep his feelings for her were. "Hey Naruto-kun, about you kissing me, what was that kiss to you?" Naruto hears what Tenten said and responses without turning his head, that kiss was my way of saying I have always loved you for 10 years since the orphanage." "Then why didn't you say anything until now?" Naruto's voice got deeper as he spoke. "Do you know, Tenten-chan, when I was kicked out of the orphanage I befriended a whole group of street urchins. Do you know what happened to all of them? The boys in that group are all deep, the girls were enslaved, I tries having pets too, they're dead as well. So Tenten-chan, do believe that I would allow you to get hurt to get turned into a slave just by being close to me? I will never allow you or Lee to get hurt, that's why I only met you when it was safe to do so. Tenten-chan, I loved you so much that I sacrificed my own happiness to keep you safe, that's why I didn't say anything until now." Tenten suddenly stopped and hugged Naruto from behind and whispered, "Naruto-kun, you should be given a new title. Naruto of the Hidden Heart." Naruto smiled an unseen smile. "Yeah, I like the sound of that." A few minutes later they had arrived at the mask temple, its once proud Uzumaki clan symbol old and broken. The steps creaked as Naruto and Tenten walked to the front door. Within the temple he found many of the vaults ransacked and many precious scrolls burned. The only thing not damaged or completely destroyed was the shrine of masks similar to the face of the Shinigami. Naruto briefly stopped and clenched his fists in anger enough so that he ended up drawing blood. "This was meant to be part of my inheritance as prince of the Uzumaki clan. I was meant to live here. Goddamn that fucking council, you bastards. I swear to all the gods known and unknown, I will kill you all. I'll put your heads on spikes for what you bastards have done." Both stopping in front of the shrine, Tenten turned towards Naruto and asked, "Do we take all of the masks, or is there one specific mask we need to take?" Naruto just smiled and slowly walked up the steps while talking. "There is one specific mask that needs to be taken, the rest are useless, only decoys for the true treasure hidden among all the masks, the mask that bears the true face of the Shinigami itself." Stopping, he looked at a mask with 2 horns and a mouth full of sharp teeth. "This is the one, this mask is special. It is actually a summoning contract specifically for the Shinigami and only made for those of Uzumaki blood. If anyone else were to wear this mask, the Shinigami will make them perform seppuku and then consume their souls." Maybe that's why this part of the temple wasn't ransacked as well. Ivan was too afraid of damaging these masks and possibly summoning the Shinigami to tear them to pieces. Naruto smiled as Tenten joined him and held his hand. Turning back towards the mask, Naruto continued speaking, "But it's a for me, any Uzumaki that wields this mask gains the ability to eat souls themselves, and this mask, having summoned the Shinigami, would protect any Uzumaki like the Uchiha clan Susanoo, basically being an artificial Susanoo." Naruto grabbed a mask and walked with Tenten and placed a single explosive seal. Tenten decided to question why only one was enough. Naruto turned his head and grinned deviously because Tenten-chan, that explosive tag is powered with Yokai, not Chakra. Yokai can go boom much better. As both of them were stepping outside, a slug had shown up in front of them. "Good evening Naruto-sama and Tenten-sama," Tsunade-sama said. "Begin phase 2. Both smiled and gave each other a mouth-to-mouth kiss in happiness and quickly rushed off to meet at the gates. But Tsunade at the same time as every one of her loyalists were preparing for a prolonged exile, she was packing all of her clan scrolls along with the recovered forbidden scroll of sealing while she was waiting for Jiraiya's reply through Messenger Toad to coordinate when they can escape. She was also, like everybody else, placing explosive tags all over her former home to ensure nobody else can use anything important. A puff of smoke signaled the arrival of a summon. The messenger Toad Kamsuk had finally arrived. The Toad Kamsuk is predominantly red in color with blue markings around his eyes and on top of his head. He also wears a pair of green goggles. The Toad politely bows to Tsunade and then says the message sent to him. "Good evening Tsunade-sama, Master Jiraiya has received your message and is currently setting up seals all over the area around Tenchi Bridge. Phase 2 can begin whenever you're ready, ma'am." Tsunade nods her head in response and replied, "Tell Jiraiya that phase 2 will begin now." The messenger Toad nods its head and then puffs off towards Jiraiya. Tsunade turns toward the window of her room and sees Konoha and thought, why have we fallen so low to bow to the wills of greedy businessmen and dishonest clans and fucking old bastards. It doesn't matter, time to begin. Kuchius no Jutsu. A large number of slug summons appears in a large puff of smoke, with all of them bowing their heads in respect for their summoner. "Alright, everyone send a message to all of the people that I have specified beforehand and tell them phase 2 has begun." As one, all the slugs nodded and respectfully replied, "Yes Tsunade-sama, will do as you ordered." Simultaneously all the slugs left and less than a few seconds later explosions could be heard in every direction as Tsunade's loyalists fled their homes with their supplies and their belongings. Tsunade herself left her home and whispered, "Katsu, goodbye everyone, I will rebuild the compound when the village is finally cleansed of its corruption." Little did Tsunade know that this would be the last time that she would set her eyes of Konoha alive. As Tsunade ran along the rooftop, she spotted all of her shinobi carrying backpacks full of supplies. She smiled when she spotted Naruto and Tenten among the group. As they reached the gate, she spotted Yugao's Anbu team and Izumo and Katetsu having opened the gates for her group, who rushed silently out, followed by Yugao's team acting as rear guard, which was a good thing too, as shouting could already be heard in the distance. Meanwhile, back at Konoha, Danzo looked calmly at the bodies of the Anbu team that were meant to be guarding the gate, breathed a sigh of annoyance. He turned his head towards the shinobi running towards the gate, as he and his root Anbu stood calmly and waited for the shinobi. The first to arrive was Kakashi and Kurenai along with their students, and the only member of Team 9, Nigihai Uga, followed closely by the clan heads and Shikamaru and Choji. The semi-complete team saluted their incumbent Hokage before Danzo began to speak. Good morning Team 8 and remnants of Team 9 and Team 10, also clan heads. As you can see, a number of demon-loving traders have escaped the village, taking with them the demon and many important clan jutsu. Now nobody worry, I have someone preparing a surprise for all of them, so you are all dismissed until I call you. As Kakashi was about to leave as well, Danzo stopped him and gestured that he wanted to see him in the Hokage Tower. Quickly arriving, Danzo gestured to a seat in front of the desk as Danzo took a deep breath, then began to speak. Now Kakashi, I have known your father for a very long time and have always respected him, and I also know about your wish to kill the demon for the death of our beloved fourth Hokage, so now I am giving you a chance to attempt to do so. Danzo reaches for a folder and hands it over to Kakashi. The information within the folder is as follows: SSS rank assassination and retrieval mission. Team determined by the team leader along with 200 root Anbu provided by incumbent 6th Hokage Danzo Shimura. Objectives: elimination of all traitors to the leaf, bounty to be paid with proof of death, retrieval of all stolen properties of Konohagakure no Sato, e.g. clan jutsu scrolls, weapons and family heirlooms, retrieval of any possible semen and egg samples from Naruto Uzumaki and Tsunade Senju if achieved. Extra bounty. List of all assassination targets: Tsunade Senju aka the Slug Princess rank. Cage level: Naruto Uzumaki aka the Demon of Konoha rank. Chunin level: Asuma Sarutobi no known alias rank. Jonin elite: Lidogai aka the Green Beast rank. Jonin elite: Yugao Yazuki aka Cat rank. Anbu captain: Banko Midarashi aka the Snake Princess rank. Special Jonin: Haruka Yamino aka Dolphin rank. Chunin elite: Izumo Kamizuki aka Eternal Chunin no. 1 rank. Middle Chunin: Betetsu Hagane aka Eternal Chunin no. 2 rank. Middle Chunin and extra Chunin or genin eliminated or capture will result in higher pay. Note: all assassination targets will be paid for in full as commissioned by the Honorable 3 Councils of Konoha and the Hokage. Kakashi looked at the folder and then back at Danzo in disbelief until he stuttered, "You're actually allowing me to do this, to lead a force to kill the demon and all the demon-loving traitors?" Danzo nodded. "Well, considering that one of your targets is Sannin and another is a demon made flesh, I think sending you my root isn't enough really, that's why I'm letting you choose more members that can help you even further." Kakashi in understanding nods his head and gets another question. "Ashimura-sama, how do we know where to find all our targets?" "Good question Kakashi, I have an insider within their group. This person has told me that they will be meeting in Tenchi Bridge near Kusagakure. May I please know who my insider is?" "Of course, come here." Danzo whispered into Kakashi's ear the name of their insider, which caused Kakashi to grin in anticipation. He made an enthusiastic salute and left to find all the members he wanted to be on this mission. No doubt Kakashi would bring Sasuke and Tenzo along, and also the clan heads as well. Danzo his head forward and clasped his hands together and quietly whispered, "So ends the children of the sage." 2 days later, with Tsunade's group about to reach Tenchi Bridge. Tsunade's group had been traveling near constantly for 2 days straight and were already within sight of Tenchi Bridge. Tsunade raised her hand to signal a halt, making many of the shinobi, especially the Chunin, to skid to along the ground while others just dropped to the ground in exhaustion. The only ones that could still stand were all the Jonin and Guy students plus Naruto, due to having much higher endurance than all the others. While this was going on, Tsunade took Yugao's Anbu team with her as security and instantly spotted her longtime teammate Jiraiya sitting in the middle of the bridge under an umbrella, using a fan to cool himself. Tsunade stepped out of the shade of trees and slowly walked out to the bridge and eventually standing in front of Jiraiya, who looked up and smiled. "Oh Tsunade-chan, how are you doing this fine warm day?" Tsunade, growing irritated at his casual stance, yelled Jiraiya. "We are in the middle of a forced exile here, the least you can do is be more serious." "Oh Tsunade-chan, why do you hurt me? So I even prepared a bottle of chilled sake just for you. Why don't we have a drink and let everyone else have a bit of rest as well?" As he was waving around a sake bottle in front of her. Tsunade, feeling no ill intent, decided to have her favorite alcohol for old time's sake. As she raised a cup of sake to her mouth, she tasted something different about it, something that isn't meant to be there. Shrugging her shoulders, she drained the whole cup in one gulp and then proceeded to drink the rest of the bottle. As she lowered the bottle, she saw Jiraiya smirking at her as he said casually, "The same old Tsunade drinking every bottle of sake that comes her way, even if it had a drug that could paralyze a seinen." That's when Tsunade felt it, her muscles were clamping down, paralyzing her in place. Tsunade managed a glare and growled, "Why would you do this to me, Jiraiya? I thought we were friends." Behind her she heard sounds of fighting as the ambush was sprung. Jiraiya laughed and stood up and looked down on his former teammate Tsunade-chan. "Do you know why I don't have a last name? I definitely knew my parents, the thing was nobody else was meant to. My full name is Jiraiya Udatane Shimura, son of Danzo Shimura and Kaharu Udatane, and granduncle to my two half-nephews kids, Sai Shimura and Mogi Udatane." Tsunade, stunned into silence, didn't notice that Yugao's Anbu team was being slaughtered behind her by none other than Kakashi, who had once again in his Anbu uniform, complete with dog mask, and Tenzo wearing a dragon mask. One of the Anbu, a bear mask covering his head, called out, "Tsunade-sama. Stab ahhhh." As he was impaled on a tree root that emerged from underneath him. Yugao and Kakashi were in the middle of a sword duel, Yugao wielding here Anbu Ninjato and Kakashi wielding his father's chakra fang. They were facing off against one another in sword stances, preparing to meet blades. Both were trying to catch each other off guard. Kakashi decided to speak first. "Yugao-san, why would you be here with these traitors and demon lovers? I thought you were smarter than this, what would Hate say?" Yugao, who had removed her mask, glowered at her former senpai after being reminded of her deceased fiancé, but decided to taunt right back. "That's like the pot calling the kettle black, right, Kakashi-senpai? Speaking of deceased persons, what would Minato-sama and Rin-sen say about your hatred, especially Minato-sama, considering you want to murder his only child?" Kakashi growled out a reply, preparing for the decisive first strike. "That demon is not Sensei's son, and considering who his mother is, I'm not all that surprised about why you support the demon, considering that whore was your teacher." Suddenly he charged and sent chakra to his blade, aiming for a downward strike which was countered by Yugao parrying the strike away from her body. Yugao counterattacked by making waist-level slash in an attempt to cut Kakashi in half, only to be stopped by Kakashi's blade. Blank, both vanished again only to appear a few seconds later, both locking blades causing sparks to fly. Kakashi, being physically stronger, was pushing her back, although Yugao managed to break off and jump back just as she was about to be cut, creating a long thin slash along the ground where she would have been. There was a momentary pause as both shinobi knew that the next strike would be their last. Yugao prepared to use Obarazakyo, Dance of the Hazy Night, as Yugao rushed forward so fast she left an afterimage behind her. Kakashi prepared by pumping more chakra into his father's blade and got into a defensive stance. Yugao struck in multiple directions, cutting and slashing until finally impaling Kakashi with her sword. Yugao whispered, "I got you now, Kakashi-senpai." Kakashi just laughed. "No, Yugao, I got you." Behind her, Yugao heard the unmistakable sounds of chirping birds behind her and a sharp stabbing pain in her chest. She looked down to see an hand sticking out of her chest. Kakashi smiled to the person behind Yugao. "Good work, Sasuke." The boy just grunted and violently pulled out his hand from Yugao's chest as Yugao dropped lifelessly to the ground. Both one-eyed man and dark-haired boy turned towards the sound of battles within the forest. Having sprung the ambush, both had no doubt that the demon and the demon lovers would be dead. Behind them, Jiraiya appeared behind them and both turned and bowed towards the Sannin, who he himself smirked back before smugly said, "Kakashi-san, Sasuke-san, it seems the battle is over here." Kakashi nodded and replied, "Yugao refused to surrender. Too bad, she could have made a good concubine for Sasuke-san and would have had many strong Uchiha children." Jiraiya shook his head in disappointment. The demon had corrupted her too much, wouldn't have been useful for Sasuke-san, although with a bit of brainwashing, she could have been made into a very good comfort woman for the village. It's such a shame, really. I wanted to have a go with her as well. Tenzo Shunshine body flicker technique in front of them and immediately kneeled down. Jiraiya turned to business. "Tenzo, remove your mask and report." The Anbu nodded and removed his mask. "I'm not gonna describe him," and in a flat monotone voice answered, "Sir, the last of the Anbu traitors have been eliminated, no survivors found, and all bodies are accounted for. I have also removed all the traitors' heads for bounty payment upon mission completion. That is all I have to report." Kakashi smiled behind his mask. "Good riddance to demon-loving traitors." Sasuke turned towards Jiraiya and asked, "What do we do now, Jiraiya-sama?" Jiraiya in response turned his mane of hair and pondered for a few seconds. "Alright, here's what we'll do, Kakashi-san. Sasuke-san, you two come with me to the ambush site. Sasuke-san, use the curse seal to its full potential. I want to show those traitors the true meaning of despair. The clan heads are only meant to tire the demon supporters, so they would be easy pickings for us three. We're gonna force the demon to watch as we execute all of its supporters, and with that Higurashi bitch, all of us are gonna take turns with her in front of the demon. When it's over I will allow Sasuke-sen here to kill the demon with a chidori to the chest. Jiraiya then turns towards Tenzo and said, now Tenzo, you will be guarding Tsunade, no doubt is already healing herself from the paralysis drug already. Now understand something. I want Tsunade alive, do you understand me? She will be heavily weakened from the drug, so it should be simple to knock her out again, got it? Tenzo nods his head in understanding and shunshuns back to Tsunade to stand guard. Turning back toward Kakashi and Sasuke said, now then we wait until the first wave of the clan heads and Rude Anbu had retreated after weakening the opposition, that's when we strike, understood? Both Kakashi and Sasuke saluted and at the same time shouted, sir, yes sir. All three quickly shunshined to get to their positions for the final kill. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Xiao's Anbu team, everybody else had taken a break. The group was so exhausted that they had not even bothered with setting up sentries to guard the camp. Naruto and Tenten were leaning their backs against each other as both rested after their non-stop journey to escape Konoha. Despite Naruto only just being freed, he still had a smile on his face as he watched all his friends and adoptive siblings move around him. As Naruto watched, he felt a slight pull in his mind. He knew it wasn't the kyuubi or his parent, no, it felt like a foreboding signaling death. He only just got the glimpse of shadows behind trees, causing him to jump up and attempted to warn his allies. Naruto shouted out ambush. But his warning came too late as a large number of smoke bombs and kunais with exploding tags appeared in one volley from all directions, killing a number of shinobi and blinding the rest of the group. Within the smoke, Naruto and the now alert Tenten could hear the authoritative voice of Asuma shouting out orders as all around them battle cries could be heard as the battle known as the Battle of Tenchi Bridge had begun. With Asuma and Mido-gai as they attempted to rally their fellow shinobi. The day was meant to be a good day. After leaving Konoha, they were meant to be safe and already fleeing into the safety of one of Naruto's influential friends. But no, at this moment the whole group was in the middle of an ambush. He was one of the first who reacted to Naruto's already late warning as the first deadly volley had been launched at them. As he began to bark out orders to the surrounding disorientated allied shinobi. Everyone stand your ground, for the Hokages passed, for honor drive them back. You will drive them back, our path is righteous, drive them back, damn it. Form up into a defensive line and protect the supplies. And somebody find Naruto and Tenten. While this was going on, close by, Mido-gai and his adoptive son Rock Lee were encouraging their fellow shinobis. Rise, my youthful friends, we must defeat our unyouthful enemies and be victorious, we cannot fail. Lee decided to join in his adoptive father's rant. Yes, Tausen, the unyouthful enemies must not win. Asuma decided that he needed to see who their enemies were as he used his mastery with FUTON wind techniques and sucked in a breath and blew a huge breeze of wind to blow away the smoke. Who he saw attacking them caused his blood to boil. A large number of blank-masked root Anbu and all the Konoha clan heads were massacring a large number of shinobi around the outer part of the clearing. The Ashi was using his gentle fist to kill a group of Chunin who was battling him. The Inoshikacho group were using their combined skills to strangle, stomp, and in Inoichi's case used his mind techniques to destroy mines. Shibi and his son Shino were using their bugs to suck the surrounding shinobi dry of any chakra. Tsume and her two children Kiba and Hana were using their combined techniques with their ninkin to pulverize anybody that got in their way. This of course was countered by many of Naruto's group led by many prominent Jonin and Chunin. Asuma had decided to engage the Inoshikacho trio in battle using his trench knives after activating his Hien style, Flying Swallow, to make his blade super sharp rushed into battle. Due to Asuma knowing the Inoshikacho trio's constant strategies in battle, he was able to hold his ground for a few minutes and actually crippling the weakest member of the trio Inoichi by slicing off his arm, although he was grievously wounded by being blindsided soon after by Choza while being held down by Shikaku, causing Asuma to retreat to the rear. Mido-gai and Rock Lee engaged Hiashi in a Taijutsu battle using their Goken and Hiashi using Jaiken, gentle fist style. The Goken duo started the battle off first by releasing 3 of the 8 gates, as Hiashi smugly thought he had an easy win, only to be hit by a double dynamic entry. The Ashi counter-attacked soon after with Haki Rakujkin SHM, 8 trigram 64 palms, hitting Lee hard enough to knock Lee unconscious, making Guy have to unlock another 2 gates and himself punching Hiashi through several trees, permanently crippling Hiashi for the rest of his life. Anko Mitarashi and Iruka Yamino had engaged the Inyazuka family after Anko summoned snakes to the battlefield. Tsume, her children, and their ninkin repeatedly launched Gitsuga after Gitsuga at their two opponents Hana and Tsume, particularly targeting Anko and her summons, trying their best to eliminate the more tougher of the two they were facing in the process, also forcing many shinobi to be caught in the crossfire of the barrage of Gitsuga. Despite being protected by Anko's summons, the Inyazukas would just change direction at the last minute. Meanwhile Iruka was repeatedly dodged Kibas and Akamaru's repeated Gitsuga assault and unlike Anko, was repeatedly beating him back by just catching him by the arm, while simultaneously kicking the hinged Akamaru in the face, repeatedly forcing Kiba to repeat the process attacking his former sensei multiple times, eventually knocking both unconscious from too many strikes to the head. Meanwhile with Anko and the remaining Chunin, she was leading were able to finally stop the mother-daughter team of Tsume and Hana, who themselves had multiple stab wounds from kunai and broken bones from Gitsugas that went awry. Despite this the opposing group had lost 10 men of the 15 Chunin that assisted Anko and Iruka, who themselves were badly wounded as well, with Anko herself having a few bite marks on her arms and shoulder and a drill-shaped hole on her other shoulder. Expecting another attack, the whole group were surprised when Tsume and Hana nodded to each other and grabbed the unconscious Kiba and Kuramaru, taking the unconscious Akamaru and retreated, causing the whole group to cheer in victory at their successful defense. Itetsu and Izumo despite being Chunin engaged the two Abername members. Unfortunately, despite their combined efforts these two along with countless Chunin were the first to fall, although not without badly wounding, both knocking them both out of the battle. Meanwhile with Naruto and Tenten during the battle. Naruto and Tenten at the moment of attempting to join in the main battle were ambushed themselves by the remaining Konoha 11, led by Shikamaru, flanked by Choji and Niji, and about 20 rude Anbu had them surrounded and cut off from the rest of their group. Shikamaru turned towards Niji and signaled for him to step forward. Niji carefully walked out of the surrounding group and stopped just short of Tenten's firing range of her weapons before taking a deep breath and called out Tenten, demon in the name of the three honorable councils of Konoha and incumbent Hokage Danzo-sama. I Niji Hyuga demand that you surrender to us and accept your punishment as traitors and demon lovers. Tenten-sen, I swear as honorable citizen of Konohagakure no Sato that you will be spared after receiving your punishment for your betrayal, and you will after being judged by an honorable court will judge whether you are worthy of being one of Sasuke-sama's brides. This is a very generous offer. Tenten-sen, just lay down your weapons and swish. What as Niji felt his neck had been partially opened by a kunai thrown by an enraged Tenten who herself was starting to take on an enraged aura around her. Tenten with her short hair shadowing and covering her eyes, answered in a low growling voice beside Naruto, how dare you Niji to think I once admired you, now I know that respecting you was a mistake, what makes you think I want to be a bride of that bastard Uchiha anyway? The councils probably want me to marry Sasuke to spite Naruto-kun. Niji while still clutching his neck growled at Naruto and Tenten, fine. You want to stay with that demon, fine. But I swear Tenten you will regret taking the demon side over Konoha. With this Niji leapt back to be attended to by a medic nin. Shikamaru hardened his gaze towards Naruto and Tenten, especially Tenten before being interrupted by Naruto who threw a stone at his head. Hey. You lazy bastard, stop looking at Tenten-chan like that, if you want a girlfriend go find somebody else that's single. Shikamaru rubbing his head in anger calmed himself down before answering back, I was not looking at Tenten like that, I was looking at her because of how much of a troublesome bitch she was, besides if the Yamanaka clan get their hands on her, they'll just turn her into a whore anyway, we were offering her a much easier way out of this situation, but it seems you are both being troublesome so just die already. With that the rude Anbu, a healed Niji and Choji charged as Naruto and Tenten themselves prepared for the onslaught that was to come. In a split second Naruto called out to his mind, Kasan, Two-sen, I need your help regulating Kyuubi's chakra, I'm gonna take on a lot of opponents, so I beg you. Naruto heard his mother speak, it's alright Sachi, we'll do what we can to help, but it would be the last few things we can do for you, so please finish quickly. I will. Just as the small army of shinobi were about to pile rush Naruto, they were suddenly repelled by a dome of yellow light engulf Naruto and Tenten, protecting them from all attack from the outside. As the light condensed around Naruto, his form sent a shockwave of power in all directions, momentarily shocking both sides to the point of stopping all fighting around them, and also shocking the hidden second wave of attacker, causing some to begin whispering. Naruto had gained chakra shroud with 6 magatama around his neck and 2 distinctive pieces of hair like horns, resembling the sage of the 6th path silhouette, along with a swirl design that resembles the Uzumaki clan symbol. Naruto's chakra shroud is also covered by various other black lines and spiral patterns. Naruto had been informed that this was an imperfect form that his mother had fully achieved during her time as the second Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Remember when Kushina and Minato called Kyuubi his real name, along with calling him uncle, thus is not its full power, and due to it being imperfect would only last 5 minutes. Despite this he can produce chakra arms controlled by his parents within his mind, increasing even physical attacks effectiveness to near Anbu level, and also increased his flexibility using directions and the chakra arms itself as extra limbs. First minute, Naruto took off with a burst of speed, punching a bloody hole through the encirclement of root Anbu, killing 5 shinobi in one burst. Creating another chakra-cloaked cage Bunshin shadow clone to cover Tenten as she battled against Choji and 3 root Anbu who were assisting him. The shadow clone took on the 3 root Anbu so as to take pressure off Tenten, killing one before any of the 3 could react. Once again controlling the chakra arms directed the chakra arms to go underground and burst up and shushkub the remaining root Anbu members and turned to ensure that no others would get in the way of Tenten's fight with Choji. Original Naruto quickly turned towards the main bulk of the group and said, "You idiots just couldn't let us go, huh? Dumb puppets of tyrants, and you Neji and Shikamaru, I have something special for you." As Naruto once again summoned chakra arms and charged. 2 minutes. Meanwhile with Tenten and Choji. Choji was glaring at Tenten who was herself glaring right back, standing there for a few seconds as Tenten prepared a kunai and a katana think, the combat stance by Musashi Miyamoto. No words were spoken, there was no need, they both knew what the other thought of each other. Before Choji shouted by Kanojutsu multi-size technique, causing his body to take on a round appearance, and Choji quickly shouted once again Nikiden Sensha human bullet tank, as Choji began to spin rapidly to the point of appearing like a spinning ball, and directed himself to strike Tenten and grind her to a bloody paste. Of course Tenten being older than Choji dodged time and time again, showing an endurance that easily fitted her thin frame, while at the same time peppering the whole ground with exploding tags in preparation of her counterattack. She just smirked and whispered Katsu. A massive wide area explosion erupted all around where Choji was Katsuing him to be engulfed in flames. Tenten calmly walked towards the edge of the flames, which were quickly dying down, as Tenten stood over the badly burned Choji, who had burns all over most of his body, and losing most of his hair on his head think, a fatter younger Shao Kahn, who he himself was screaming out in pain. Tenten looked at her opponent in disappointment and said, "I can't believe how easy it was to defeat you, you the next in line to the Akamichi clan, defeated by a clan-less girl like me, how embarrassing." At this moment the shadow clone Naruto appeared and put his arm on Tenten's shoulder and whispered, "Tenten-chan, the boss is busy finishing of the last root Anbu, along with Neji and Shikamaru, you should go to where it's safe." "It's fine, I'll be going with you to keep you safe, and besides the boss isn't in any danger." 3 minutes. With Naruto after the beatdown and massacre of the remaining root Anbu, Naruto held badly injured Neji and Shikamaru by their collars as all around them lay the bodies of more than 15 root Anbu, some having been torn limb from limb by an enraged Naruto and swiftly pummeling the Neji and Shikamaru into submission. Naruto glaring at them both and angrily asked, "I trusted you as my comrades, both of you the smartest of our generation, couldn't see past your own family's lies about me. Where are those brains of yours that you are so praised for? Did they suddenly fall out of your heads? Where is the legendary logic that you two are famous for? Even your senseis knew better than you about the truth of my history." Creating a shadow clone, Naruto threw Neji at the clone and ordered, "Hold him while I chat with so-called genius over here." Making the clone smirk and nod its head, grabbing Neji by his hair, put Neji in a headlock, not enough to make him pass weight, but enough to keep him in place. Turning back to Shikamaru he whispered angrily, "Do you know why I never trusted you in the academy, Shikamaru? Do you why I hated you so much that I avoided contact with many of you? It's because of what your families had done to me, to those I cared about. Do you know how many I lost because of your family? Out of a group 30 orphans that I befriended, only Tenten and Lee are left. The rest was murdered, raped and sold into slavery. I couldn't even have any pets because of Konoha. Every single time I did somebody would find out and they'd kill my pets in front of me. Hell, you're fucking free-ended. Dad Choza ate my pets when they were still alive. So what makes you and all these fucking people righteous in your mistreatment of me? What have I ever done to any of you that I deserved such a childhood, filled with loneliness and self-sacrifice? I wonder, should I do the same as I did to Ino, make you relive all of my worst memories? No, you don't deserve to, because I can feel your hatred. You don't care that I suffered. Unlike Ino, I can't at least make you regret, so you're worthless. I won't kill you. No, I will spare today. Now Shikamaru Nara, go to sleep, bastard." With a quick chop to the neck, Shikamaru was rendered unconscious as he dropped on face down, causing him to break several teeth as Naruto let him drop on a small outcrop of stones and causing him to bite down on his tongue. Unknown to him, Shikamaru had seen his eyes flashing from its cerulean blue to crimson red and black. Remember during the introduction that I mentioned that Naruto always had his Sharingan turned on except hidden under a powerful hinge, instantly recognizing the Sharingan and literally gasping before falling into unconsciousness. Moving towards Neji and his clone, he roughly punches Neji, causing several teeth to fall out in the process, before Naruto gestures for his clone to hold him up. Naruto glares at Neji as he himself glares right back before smirking and deciding to tell Neji one of his clan's darkest secrets regarding his father Neji. Neji, stupid Bishin and Fate boy, do you know why I tried to change your views of the world? No answer, huh? It's because I knew your father when I was a child. He and a few other Hyuga branch house members had rescued me from being beaten to death until my usual rescuers, the Uchiha military police or Anbu teams led by Cat or Weasel, showed up to crack skulls. Now your father, he was different than other Hyuga I have met. He actually had a heart, he had compassion, something you lack even now. Personally, I think he would be ashamed of you, how you turned out, a bitter stupid boy who can't see the truth even when it's staring at him in front of his face. He was one of the few adults that I could say that was kind to me. Hell, I felt safer hiding in the Uchiha compound where I was actually fed and brought back to health after a beating. It was always your father who would hand me over to the Uchiha clan to be cared for. Why? Because the hospital staff always tried to kill me with poison, in my food, in my water. Hell, one time they soaked my bed sheets with poison, believing my skin would absorb it all. Most of you clan are scum. Even most of the branch house with the exception of your father and his closest friends could be regarded by me as good people. Do you know the real reason why your father was killed? And don't go believing what your scum of the earth uncle forced him to write. Your uncle and his elder council were fed up of him interfering with my punishments, so the council devised a plan to get him killed. They decided they needed bait to lure that idiot of a Kumo envoy to try to kidnap your cousin, making sure that it was only your father that was on patrol with your uncle at the time, so only they could interfere with the kidnapping. When it was all over, your council was able to use his kind heart to force him to commit suicide. But you know what? He came to me before he died. He begged me to ensure that you would turn out to be just like him, a Hyuga with a heart. It seems his final wishes, like the fourth Hokage's final wishes, were once again unfulfilled. Shortly after all of his friends and their families were executed, Hokage Jiji couldn't do anything as it was a clan matter, so he couldn't even interfere as innocent people were murdered. I mourned for those who died. I mourned for your father tricked into committing suicide. Your mother dying shortly after of a broken heart. Shortly after they increased their efforts to punish me by murdering my friends. I tried helping you when we were younger, remember? I was trying to teach you compassion. Instead you listened to people that killed your parents. For that, Neji, you have failed them. Waiting for a response, Neji raised his head and laughed. Do you think I'd believe anything you say, demon? Your words are filled with lies. Fate has decreed that you will die, maybe not at my hands, but with another righteous Konoha shinobi who will purge your evil existence from this world. Naruto, hearing enough gestures for his clone to knock Neji out. 4 minutes. Naruto quickly created more clones who launched themselves into the battle, while keeping a group of clones to protect Tenten, who herself charged alongside her own squad of clones right into the fray. Everywhere Naruto and his clones went, he relieved and rescued his friends, finally forcing the Anbu root forces to retreat, causing Naruto and his wounded allies to give a cheer of victory. 5 minutes end, but the battle seemingly over. Naruto's 5 minutes of using the kyuubi chakra mode ending, causing him to slump to the ground exhausted as he heard his parents congratulating him in his mind, escape as all of his clones dispelled, and Tenten ran up to Naruto to catch him fall. Naruto wearily looked up and smiled at his new girlfriend. We won, thank the sage. Tenten merely smiled and hugged Naruto and whispered into his ear, when we're safe and in one of the allied countries, I'm gonna show you how really proud you made me feel. Just as they were all finally feeling relieved, Jiraiya emerged from the tree line flinging 2 corpses of Anbu root, smiling at the crowd of shinobi, as Asuma shakily walked up to the legendary Sannin and gave a salute. Unknown to everyone else, Naruto watching the scene felt a malevolent feeling coming from Jiraiya as Asuma and legendary Sannin started their conversation. Jiraiya smiled at the badly wounded former 13 Guardian member and laughingly said, holy crap Asuma-san, if I knew you guys were gonna have a party I would have brought the booze and the ladies with me. Asuma gave a tired smile toward his senior and jokedly said, haha Jiraiya-sama, we didn't know there was a party. It was a big surprise for us as well. We couldn't even bring out the sake before the dancing started. Jiraiya nodded. It doesn't matter, get everyone organized, then we'll continue the party somewhere else. Naruto finally figured out what the malevolent feeling was. It was already too late. Just as Asuma was turning around to give out orders to get everyone ready, Jiraiya had already made a Rasengan in both his hands and had quickly shoved both into Asuma's unprotected back, crushing his spine completely as Jiraiya smiled evilly down on Asuma as he placed a gas mask in preparation. In the confusion, the second wave of hidden attackers used the same paralyzing agent as used on Tsunade, except in a gas form, causing all of the shinobi without gas masks to fall down paralyzed, unable to move as Root Anbu rushed to restrain everyone including Naruto and Tenten herself being dragged away by sadistic-looking Kakashi by her. Fair way from Naruto, leaving Naruto alone surrounded by Root Anbu with swords drawn. Asuma angrily growled, why Jiraiya-sama? Why did you betray us? Jiraiya evilly laughed, betray you? I didn't betray anyone, I helped capture a bunch of traitors to Konohagakure. Drawing a kunai, Jiraiya said, Danzo Shimura sends his regards. And he plunged the blade into Asuma's skull, killing him instantly. Turning towards the crowd of prisoners, Jiraiya lifted up his arms and proclaimed, by order of the three councils of Konohagakure no Sato and incumbent 6 Hokage Danzo Shimura, you are all hereby summarily executed for treason against Konohagakure no Sato and Hai no Kuni. Your executioner will be me. Line them all up in front of the demon. I want the demon to see its followers to die in front of it, and for the finale we will defile its little girlfriend. Everyone gets a turn, so let's begin. Kakashi grabbed Naruto by the hair and whispered, hello Naruto-chan, just like when you were younger, right? Naruto glared at his supposed sensei with rage until he was punched in the face by Kakashi. Do not look at me like that, demon. You deserve this, you and your goddamn whore of a mother. I was meant to be Yondaime-sama's only son, not you, so watch and learn. The demons don't deserve to be happy. I was glad your mother died, if only you had died as well too. So it begun, the mass murder repeat of his blood-covered childhood. At first, it was the many unnamed chunin who had their throats slit, then they moved on to those he knew personally, the kind blacksmith Ryu Higurashi, as he nodded at Naruto with no regret in his eyes, as his throat was slit by Jiraiya. Next came Tuchi, who opened his eyes and looked straight at Naruto, reassuring him, but a second later he died as well. His daughter had received special treatment as she was dragged away by Jiraiya and Kakashi and was stripped and repeatedly raped by the two men, easily overpowering the civilian Raymond girl, who by the end was bruised and bleeding, cum coming from every hole in her body, as Kakashi stood half naked with his father's white fang and plunged the sword repeatedly into her body, mutilating her corpse until Kakashi was covered in blood head to toe. During the whole ordeal, Naruto screamed for his sister, his screams of anger synchronizing with AM screams as the less than controlled rude Anbu laughed at Naruto's anguish. In fact, if anyone was actually looking Naruto in the eyes, they would rapidly changing from cerulean blue to a pattern black and red. Of course nobody was looking, so it really didn't matter at the time. Kakashi turned back to Naruto and laughed as he kicked AM one last time. You see this slut here? This is what you girlfriends is gonna look like very soon, so savor your last few minutes with your little girlfriend. Next came Iruka Yamino, one of Naruto's only friends in the academy and mentor, who called out to Naruto, it's alright Naruto, you don't need to worry, I hope we'll meet each other one day, as Iruka closed his eyes as Jiraiya slit his throat. Just as he was about to move on and kill Rock Lee, a tree was thrown between Jiraiya and Lee. Emerging from the tree line was a battered and enraged Tsunade. When Tsunade spotted Jiraiya and all her murdered men and the mutilated corpse of AM, her rage spilled forward like a tsunami to engulf the land. Jiraiya. Kakashi. I'm gonna kill you. A few minutes before, with Tenzo and Tsunade, Tenzo was kneeling in front of Tsunade with his ninjato on the ground as Tsunade was dissolving the paralysis agent in her body as she heard the sounds of battle behind her. Tenzo himself merely looked at her expressionlessly and said, I am truly Tsunade-sama for your mistreatment, but we must eliminate all threats to the great Konohagakure no Sato. This we must kill the demon, and all that support him. I apologize. When you are returned to the village, you will be pumped full of pregnancy-enhancing drugs to renew the Senju clan. Wouldn't that be great, Tsunade-sama? You're going to become the mother to the next generation of Senju directly under Danzo-sama. Imagine it, Tsunade-sama. Renewed Senju and Uchiha clan will bring Konohagakure no Sato to a new golden age. At that moment Tsunade felt that she had been fully healed, and as Tenzo was kneeling, Tsunade took a swing at his head, crushing Tenzo's skull under her fist, until Tsunade saw that it was in fact Moku Bunshi and Wood clone. Looking around, Tsunade felt Tenzo's presence behind her. Tenzo, sounding apologetic, said, I am truly sorry Lady Tsunade, but I couldn't well attend to you by my real self, so I created a clone to watch over you, so please be calm so I do not damage your precious Senju womb. Tsunade, despite being still under the effects of the paralysis drug, managed to this time knock the real Tenzo, this time getting past Tenzo with her superior power by slipping past Tenzo's guard and hitting him and knocking the wind right out of him and also crushing his ribs. Despite this, Tsunade was only able to knock him into unconsciousness instead of plain killing Tenzo. Running past back to where their encampment was located and witnessed just in time the death of Iruka Yamino and the anguished cries of Naruto as he lost another friend. That's when she decided then and there to attack, grabbing a tree and ripping it away from its roots. She threw it with all her might, stopping the execution of Rock Lee. Present time. Jiraiya. Kakashi. I am gonna kill you. Jiraiya, frightened, turned tail as Tsunade charged after him, attacking any rude Anbu got in her way. Many did try to stop her, but ended up getting punched so hard in the chest, so hard that their organs and ribs would explode from their back, killing all instantly, before being distracted by calls for help from her last remaining followers. Changing direction much to the relief of Jiraiya, instead targeted the rude Anbu guarding her remaining followers and quickly summoning Kitsuyu clones after breaking the bonds holding all of them down, who then proceeded to heal of each member one Kitsuyu each follower. Meanwhile Naruto, finding hope, suddenly struck back at the surrounding rude Anbu members and finally being able to stand, didn't see Kakashi charging with his father's chakra fang. Tsunade moved to intercept the attack and managed to push Naruto out of the way. Kakashi, now unable to stop his attack, impaled Tsunade with the chakra fang. As Naruto himself stood up stunned, he didn't notice Sasuke with a Chidori right behind him until he noticed Sasuke's hand sticking out of his chest. But the smirk Sasuke ripped his hand away from Naruto's chest as Naruto fell forward, blood streaming down his mouth. As Naruto lay there struggling to live, his lungs destroyed from a Chidori strike, pumped more frothy blood from his mouth and wound in his chest as a vision blurred as he saw Tsunade lay near him and Tenten and his remaining friends once again restrained, only to be interrupted by Sasuke putting his foot on Naruto's shoulder, causing him to scream out in pain. Jiraiya, finally regaining his wits, walked slowly towards the two wounded blondes. Tsunade slowly turned her head towards the approaching Jiraiya, who stopped just a few steps near each blonde's head. Looking angrily at Tsunade, he angrily exclaimed, "You stupid dumb woman. You would sacrifice your life for this thing, this demon, why?" "Wait, no, it doesn't matter, I know exactly why you sacrificed your life for this little shit. You once told me that he reminded you of your fiancé Dan Kato and your brother Nawaki Senju. You have no idea until now how close you were to the truth behind his heritage." Through coughs of blood, Tsunade was barely able to mumble what. By now Naruto, despite being in pain, was also listening intently despite Sasuke having his foot on his. Jiraiya, turning towards Naruto after he noticed Naruto trying to listen, motioned for Sasuke to stop, making Sasuke to scold in anger, and angrily asked, "Why do I need to stop? It doesn't matter who the demon was related to." Jiraiya shook his head in annoyance and answered, "But it does, Sasuke, and you see his bloodline is extremely important as a weapon as well for the village, and besides, they are all going to die very soon anyway, so let's give both of them the absolution." Sasuke thought about it for a few seconds until finally nodding, "As long as I get first go with the demon's girlfriend over there, then fine, do whatever you want." Jiraiya smiled a devious grin and nodded in agreement as Sasuke backed away from Naruto's dying body. Jiraiya once again began to speak. "Now where was I? Oh right, I was gonna tell you, Hime princess, why you were reminded so much of your brother and fiancé and this little demon. It began with your brother. Truth be told, I liked him, he was a good kid, always smiling and helping people. Problem was he was your brother, a Senju, and in case of your death future clan head. My father, he wouldn't have that. We needed a weak clan head for the Senju clan or what remained of it. Father also really wanted to have the Mokuton would release bloodline, and as last male heir to the Senju clan your brother, despite not displaying the bloodline, was a feasible body to harvest for parts, as father already was experimenting on ways to obtain the bloodline, including just digging up the first Hokage's body and taking DNA samples to try to obtain the bloodline, so father decided to order a mission, or more like a trap. We set up an ambush with explosive tags littering the area of where their mission was meant to be. His body was ripped apart. Tsunade, you should have seen it, it was so funny. Orochimaru-san really did try to save Nawaki. I mean, he summoned Manda in an attempt to save his dying student, but it was already too late. He had died en route to the nearest medic station, where secretly rude Anbu replaced the medic nin station there, where after Orochimaru lost consciousness, they proceeded to harvest your brother's corpse of any organs they could get. The body of Orochimaru and the remaining members of his squad was incomplete. Looking at his former teammate's tearful face, he smiled. He was enjoying seeing Tsunade like this. He thought to himself, I am such a sadist. Before continuing, we continued to experiment on the harvested parts for years without success. Personally, the only reason that I even helped was so I could get to love me. The plan was that you in your grief-stricken state would be emotionally weak, so I could get you to easily fall in love with me, so me and my father could finally gain access to the Senju Jutsu archives. Jiraiya grimaced and glared at this woman who had rejected him so many times before continuing once again, but things didn't work out as planned. You rejected me again and again. In your attempt to begin a proper medic nin program, you closed yourself off. I thought you'd come out of it eventually, so I waited, but I waited too long. You fell in love with that blue-haired bastard Dan Kato. So as a form of revenge, I asked my father and mother to advise the Hokage to reject your proposal due to lack of funding and personnel. Jiraiya crossed his arms and shook his head in frustration. I thought you two would fall apart quickly, with nothing holding you two together. I thought I'd get my chance soon to take you as mine. Instead, after waiting 3 months, and you two announced to the whole village that you two were engaged. And to his insult, to what I believed was a great injustice to me, you also announced that you were pregnant 1 month along. Jiraiya's face grew darker as he continued what he was saying. I got angry, so I told my father and mother to prepare another assassination. This time it was Dan Kato that needed to die. So we devised a plan. First they would set up a mission that was important for national security, so it was imperative that it be fulfilled as ordered. You and Dan Kato and a few other Chunin would attack a supposed bandit camp. Unknown to either of you, one of the Chunin sent was an undercover root Anbu who spiked your water bottles with a type of medicine that messed with a person's chakra network, making medic nin useless. I was nearby too, waiting for my chance to stick a bunch of kunai laced with a poison that when a medic nin tried to use any medical technique, it wouldn't heal the person, it would actually cause his body to shut down and cause internal bleeding, killing them, even as a medic nin was attempting to heal the victim. Coupled with the chakra disrupting medicine and the poison I used, Dan Kato died in his own pool of blood. Jiraiya looked frustrated, but he calmed down enough to continue speaking. But once again, a loved one's death screwed you up. You developed HAEMOPHOBIA blood fear, and shortly afterward you went into a coma while pregnant. So I secretly devised a plan to get my revenge on that bastard Dan Kato from beyond the grave. I waited 8 months until you were about to give birth. The doctors and nurses had decided to do a C-section to get the child out, so I disguised myself, and just as the baby was being removed from your womb, I knocked out everyone. Earlier on I found some street whore's dead baby, it's so much like you that I paid that whore 500 yen. I replaced your real child with the whore's dead baby and took your child away with me without anyone knowing any better. Everybody believed that the child died in the womb, but I knew more than they did. While you were in a coma, I decided to kill off the Kato family, but spared the niece of yours because I believed she had potential for a whore when she's fully grown, turning towards the restrained Shizune and gave her a luxurious grin and licking his lips before saying, "And why had she really grown to be a beautiful woman?" Jiraiya once again smirked and deviously grinned toward Tsunade, who was in tears at the revelation that her child was still alive, as Jiraiya himself relished in the knowledge that she would never get to know who her child was. I took the child to an orphanage without anyone noticing and left the child under a false name, where he was raised quite nicely until he was ready for the academy, where the child displayed that great senju genius brains that you were all famous for and was proclaimed as a prodigy by all his teachers. During that time your grandmother was already dying, so Sensei asked for a Uzumaki child to become the next host for the Kyuubi no Kitsune. It was funny when they sent Kushina after father manipulated Sensei into asking for a girl instead of a boy so that we could turn the girl the Uzumaki clan sent into breeding stock for the village. At the same time, father had decided to enact an old project of his passed down from his ancestors, right back to the time of the Sage of Six Paths. He decided that the Uzumaki clan was becoming too powerful for anyone's comfort, so he persuaded Kurigakure no Sato, Iwagakure no Sato and Kumagakure no Sato to attack Yuzu no Kuni, homeland of the Uzumaki clan. It took only 5 days to wipe them out, using our root Anbu that were sent to help in the country's defense, led by me, the Toad Sage of Konohagakure no Sato. While they were preoccupied, we attacked them from behind. Oh, the amount of Uzumaki women I raped was enough to fill 10 books of Icha Icha, but we couldn't even steal anything of value, though no jutsu scrolls, no FUINJUTSU sealing techniques, scrolls, not even any artifacts, because they had all those fucking Uzumaki blood seals all over them all. Turning towards Naruto this time, he smiled and said, "That's why we needed this demon alive for so long." Sensei was so fucking oblivious to what we were doing, even in front of his face we were making fun of him. Senile old bastard didn't know that we were planning to use the demon's need for companionship to turn it into a mindless weapon that would eventually be used to allow us to steal all of Yuzu no Kuni's treasures by using one of the demon's future brats, by draining it of all its blood enough to steal of the scrolls we could want. But back to the story of how the demon reminds you so much of your loved ones. The answer is the name I gave your child, which was actually a boy. I gave him the name Minato Namikaze, also known as the Yellow Flash of Konoha, and father of Naruto Uzumaki, and husband of that twice-damned woman Kushina Uzumaki. You didn't know this because at the time you were suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and left soon afterwards with your nice Shizune after learning that your child had died in the womb, so you never even got to see your real son grow into the perfect fighting tool this village had to offer. Pointing his hands towards Naruto, so you see the demon, also known as Naruto Uzumaki, is also your grandson through your unknown son Minato and his wife Kushina Uzumaki. We were planning to assassinate Minato and Kushina, and we would have went forward with the operation if it weren't for the Kyuubi attack came and gave my father the chance to go into the shadows to pull the civilian council strings from behind Sensei's back. It was father and mother who always encouraged those who wanted to kill the demon. Heck, they even made promises that they wouldn't spend a day in jail if they were caught hurting the demon. Instead, they would be secretly rewarded with money or favors that could be fulfilled at any time. Besides, father has a vision of a unified elemental continent under High no Kuni land of fire, and to do that we needed to kill off any that could have resisted. That included most of the Senju clan apart from you, and one member of the Uchiha and Uzumaki clans that could be spared. Actually, father was pivotal in killing off all 3 clans. What an achievement to have killed off the 3 strongest clans in known history. I could have had taken you back to Konoha to be one of my many brides, but no, you had to go and try to save this demon brat. Well, I can't change anything now, so die now. Tsunade send you last of your great clan, along with your demon spawn of a grandson. As Jiraiya slowly raised his kunai to stab Tsunade through the heart, his hand was stopped just short of Tsunade's face by a hand grabbing his before he could deliver the killing blow. Tsunade slowly stood up and glared at Jiraiya, who himself was trying his best to force Tsunade to let go of his hand, as it was slowly but surely crushed as Tsunade with a determined and angry glare, shouted Infuan Kai Yin Seal. Release, this is my last stand Jiraiya, I will save my grandson, even if it cost me my life. As Tsunade threw Jiraiya aside, his hand completely useless, Jiraiya looked up as Tsunade exclaimed, I will not allow my grandson to die while I live. I won't allow the last of my family, my only grandchild to die, this I swear on my honor. Sozo creation rebirth, as all her injuries began to heal, including the stab wound in her chest, lines appeared originating from the diamond on her forehead, which only took a space of only 5 seconds to finish. Quickly leaping into action, Tsunade's spear tackled Sasuke and quickly threw him towards the crowd of opposing shinobi, including the surprised Kakashi, while Tsunade quickly went through another Kuchius no Jutsu to summon more Katsaya to defend her. Soon after, the gigantic slug respectfully asked Tsunade-sama, how am I of service? Tsunade punched a rude Anbu away from her and quickly answered, Katsaya, I need you to form up a defensive barrier using your clones, keep everyone back while I heal Naruto please. It shall be done my lady, as Katsaya was already breaking apart and attacking anybody that Katsaya perceived as a threat to her master. Turning her attention back to Naruto, she saw Naruto's eyes closed, made her run frantically to him and quickly kneeling down and shouting Shosen no Jutsu mystical palm technique. As Tsunade was healing her grandson, she was crying desperately, attempting to awaken her unconscious grandson. Please no. Not again, I won't lose you too, Naruto please open your eyes, please don't die, no. I won't let you die, even if I have to pump all of my chakra into you I will. Little did Tsunade know that beings beyond her lifetime were themselves awakening to assist the last heir to the 3 clans of the sage, and within the seal, these being met to help unlock Naruto's destiny, even as he lay dying. Within the seal at the same time, Kushina and Minato themselves been frantic, attempting to harass the kyuubi, also known as Kurama by his family and friends, into assisting in the healing process started by Tsunade. Kurama himself was in a meditation pose, sending as much of his purified yokai as Naruto's body could take without falling apart. You have to hurry, Oji-san, Naruto-chan is dying please. Opening one of his big eyes, Kurama answered in his booming voice, I know Kushina-chan, but you have to understand he only just used kyuubi chakra mode, his body is still recovering as it is right now, I can't send too much yokai or his body will cease to function, so please be patient, I am doing what I can to help. Meanwhile with Minato, he was left contemplating that he was in fact the son of Tsunade Senju. He could have been clan head of the Senju clan if it weren't for his traitorous backstabbing sensei, maybe even help revive both of their clans if it had been possible. His thoughts returned to his only son. As he was about to ask a question to Kurama, he suddenly saw the environment change around them. All 3 of the known occupants stood around gaping at their environment. They were standing on a pool of water with a clear waveless surface. Suddenly a strong but old voice called out to all 3 of them, I see that my heir is in deep trouble. If you wish to help him, then please come closer. Kurama, hearing the voice, widened his eyes in surprise as his ears also perked up. That voice, I haven't heard that voice for a very long time, not since my creation in my childhood have I last heard that voice. Is that you, father? Ah, Kurama my son, if you really want proof, then come to my voice, don't worry I won't bite, but if you don't want to come to me then I'll come to you instead. As footsteps could be heard nearby every second, the sound of footsteps coming closer. Kushina, appearing nervous, looked up to Kurama and asked, Oji-san, who's that calling to us? I don't recognize his voice from anywhere. Looking down at his former container and relative, he answered while patiently waiting, remember my stories to you when you were younger, Kushina-chan, about how I had a father and siblings both human and Biju? Well, you two get ready, you two are about to meet my creator, my father Hagoromo Tsutsuki. Kushina, the first of the 2 to figure out who it was that was coming their way, widened her eyes as she whispered in awe, the bringer of peace and order, the Rikido Sennin sage of 6 paths, our ancestor. Slowly a man's shape was coming to view, finally coming to a stop just beyond eyesight range, as if hesitating before bring himself into the light. The Rikido Sennin, his real name Hagoromo Tsutsuki. In his old age, Hagoromo had deep wrinkles, a long goatee reaching his waist, and short grayish-red shaggy hair, which spiked up at the top, and a chin-length braid hanging in front of his left ear. Hagoromo had pronounced eyebrow ridges with small horn-like protrusions above them, as well as a red rinnegan-like marking in the center of the forehead. He wore a white full-length kimono with a pattern of 6 magatama around a high collar, beneath which he wore a necklace which was also made up of magatama. On the back of his cloak was a larger rinnegan-like marking with a pattern of 9 magatama arranged in 3 rows. Hagoromo looking up towards his son smiled and said, Akurama-chan, you don't look so little anymore, do you, my son, and I feel that much of your hatred is gone as well. You have learned to love and forgive, and I would like to say, Kurama-chan, that I am proud of you. The kyuubi lowered its great head in submission. Father, I thought I'd never see you again. The sage raised his hand to stop him. No tears, my child, I am here because I need to be here. It's so that we can finally reclaim our true homeland with the combined reincarnation of your brothers leading the way. Turning towards the awestruck Minato and Kushina, he smiled at them both and asked, state your name and ancestry. I know which one of my 3 sons you are both descended from, but I want to hear it from you. Kushina went first, but not before looking at Minato, who gave her a kind smile. My name is Kushina Uzumaki, daughter of Prince Takamori Uchiha Uzumaki, and my mother Saya Uzumaki, granddaughter of the Sateicho of all of Yuzu no Kuni's military forces Madara Uchiha, and my grandmother Princess Yuna Uzumaki, the last daimyo of Yuzu no Kuni and mother to Naruto Uzumaki. Hagoromo nods and replies, you Kushina-san have a great and prestigious line, and your son has a great legacy to live up to, but I sense that he will rise above it. Your bloodline from your grandfather, once slowly covered by darkness, had been cleansed by your grandmother, who brought your grandfather from the darkness itself to be one of the most honorable men to able to grace this land. Kushina Uzumaki, my descendant from my eldest and youngest son, your blood will help the world to be led into peace. Shortly after, Minato stepped forward and took a deep breath. My name is Minato Nami, I mean Senju, the 4th Hokage, son of Dan Kato and Tsunade Senju, granddaughter of Hashirama Senju clan head, and Princess Mito Uzumaki of Yuzu no Kuni. Hagoromo nods before answering, my middle child's descendant and a little bit of my youngest son as well. Your path will always lead you into the light to peace. Your wife is your yin, well you are her yang, well your son has the blood of all 3 clans in his veins, his yin and yang perfectly balanced, and also something very unusual had occurred. Your son can unlock a power greater than mine, with some assistance of course. Both of Naruto's parents both had questioning looks all over their faces before Minato asked, what do you mean power greater than yours? What could be more powerful than you, the sage of 6 paths? Hagoromo nods silently before answering, alright, for your first question, the answer is the one person I admit is actually much more stronger than me is my own mother. She ate the fruit from the Shinju God tree, unlocking the power of the gods. She was the one who came before me, who brought peace to the world with the immense power she received. All in all, she was the closest thing you can have to a living god. Heck, me and my brother, my twin, are scared to death of her. Kushina this time asked her question, not to be rude, Tsutsuki-sama, but who is gonna help? The sage of 6 paths Hagoromo Tsutsuki smiled, of course, as much of our family as possible, like my 3 sons and my mother, hopefully my brother, your grandfathers and grandmothers, I can summon them here, their souls, to finally unlock the power that was destined to be claimed. Kushina and Minato both nod, with Minato answering for them both, if it can save our son we do not care. Hagoromo nods, listen to me, I am gonna summon my family, but I need your son to manifest with the Shinigami mask to summon the remaining members. With our combined effort, that seal covering your son's eyes will finally be removed and we can perform the ritual that will give him the necessary power to do what needs to be done. We agree. Good, let's begin. I'll begin with summoning who I could. With this, the sage of 6 paths used his staff by tapping the water on the floor, causing small waves to spread in all directions. Shortly after, balls of glowing water float above the water and begins to take humanoid shape. First the arms and legs and the head. 6 balls of water are summoned and take shape. Then these humanoids begins to take on features to people important to Naruto's parents. The first is Mito Uzumaki Senju, who had long bright red hair and large pupilless eyes. She wore an elaborate high-collared kimono with the Azuchi Agakure symbol on the back of the obi, which was tied around her waist. Her hair was arranged in buns with hairpins in them and 3 clips in the front. She also wore a dark shade of red lipstick and had a violet-colored diamond mark on her forehead, similar to that of her granddaughter Tsunade. She also wore tags with kanji written on them in her hair decals. The next person was a crimson-haired man with a clean-shaven face, wearing a black kimono with long sleeves that had the Uzumaki and Uchiha clan symbols on the upper sleeves and a dark blue samurai breastplate covering his body. This was Takamori Uchiha Uzumaki, Kushina Uzumaki's father. The third person was another woman with dark hair grown long into a ponytail very similar to Kushina and coal-black eyes and a sharp chin of predominant Uchiha, wearing an elegant blue dress with a sash tied around her chest. This was Kushina's Uchiha mother Saya Uzumaki ni Uchiha. The fourth person was another red-haired woman very similar in facial features to Mito Senju herself due to them being sisters. This woman was Yuna Uzumaki, the last daimyo of Yuzu no Kuni, and Kushina's grandmother, with a round face inherent in all pure Uzumaki covered with straight red hair, flowing out in behind her reaching just above her waist. She was wearing a crimson dress with a golden sash around her waist, with the back of her dress sporting the Uzumaki spiral symbol. Her outfit was completed with a simple yet elegant headdress, showing her status as daimyo. The final person to appear was Madara, grandfather of Kushina Uzumaki and husband of Yuna Uzumaki, a fair-skinned man with spiky black hair that had a slight blue tint to it. His hair reaching waist-length and shoulder-length bangs framing the sides of his face, covering most of his right eye. His attire consisting of maroon armor with numerous metal plates, forming protective guards along his chest, waist, shoulders and thighs. This clothing under the armor was an indigo long-sleeved shirt with a knee-length mantle, pants, open-toed boots, gloves. He also wore his newly adopted village's forehead protector with the spiral symbol on and black headband. These 5 that were summoned were the only ones of their family that weren't claimed by the Shinigami, such as Mito's husband Hashirama Senju and his brother Tobirama Senju, plus most of Minato Namikaze's soul that weren't sealed in his son. At this moment all 5 were looking around confused as to where they actually were before seeing those people around them, Madara himself widening his eyes at the sight of the Sage of Six Paths standing among them. Madara decided to sum up what everyone was thinking at the moment and shouted, "What the hell is going on here? Why the hell is the Sage of Six Paths here too?" This was complete with him pointing along with his shouting, "Madara-kun. You're here." That was before being tackled to the ground by his wife from behind, much to everyone's embarrassed looks, with Mito herself face-palming in embarrassment for her sister's actions. After maybe a minute of crying and laughing between the two of them, Madara himself reluctantly had to pry his wife off him to begin speaking. Fixing up his clothes and armor to look more dignified in front of everyone present. "Okay, now I really wanna know what the hell is going on. Why the hell are we all here? Is it that twice damned Ito TNSEI summoning? Impure World Resurrection, because if it is I'm gonna shove my gun by straight up Tobirama's ass for trying to summon us. Anyway, where the hell are we, and why have you summoned us?" The Sage of Six Paths nodded before answering. "Madara, Ichiha, to answer your questions. The first being that no, this is not Ito Tensei. You were summoned by me, the Sage of Six Paths, to assist us in performing a ritual that will unlock your great-grandson's eyes and power of his body, and we are currently present within a special part of his mindscape where we can speak to one another in peace. Of course I wouldn't do this if the situation wasn't so dire that I myself would need to personally intervene." Madara's wife Yuna Uzumaki decided to ask her own question as well. "Wait a minute, what could the situation be that it forced your own ancestor to personally intervene to save our combined descendant's life?" The sage breathed a sigh of sadness. "Our combined descendant is dying from a large hole in his chest. It was done by his traitorous teammate behind him while he was distracted." At this, Madara's voice grew malevolent and took on a very deep voice, similar to a Bijuu's voice, as he growled, "Who was the bastard who tried to murder my last living descendant? Tell so when I meet the bastard I will personally tear them limb from limb." Madara's wife tried to calm him down by placing her hand on his shoulder to attempt to calm him down, feeling his wife's worried feeling behind him quickly calmed down, although he was taking deep breaths and clenching his fist so tight he had pierced his hands with his nails. This went on for about a minute before he completely composed himself. Mito decided to join in this conversation with her own thoughts. "When you said that he was our combined descendant, what is my relation? Oh, this boy Naruto." The sage nodded before answering, "Well, Mito-san, Naruto Uzumaki is your great-great-grandson from your granddaughter Tsunade Senju and her fiancé Dan Kato, although due to her traitorous teammate, she only just recently found out she had a grandson herself, and right now she doing her very best to save his life, although without our help, it is a losing battle. Then where is my husband, my brother-in-law and my son and daughter-in-law? Shouldn't they be here too?" The sage shook his head and looked at them in the eyes. "Unfortunately, Hashirama and Tobirama, plus most of your great-grandson's soul, is actually sealed away in the Shinigami gut due to the Shiki Fuujin sealing style. Reaper Death Seal, during an attempted invasion of the leaf. In the case of your husband and brother-in-law, they were sealed away by your brother-in-law's own student due to both of them being turned into mindless puppets to be used against the third Hokage, who also sealed away his own soul as payment, while your own descendant had used the Shiki Fuujin to seal away half of the Kyuubi no Kitsune's chakra inside his own son, who was a newborn at the time. During the childbirth, the Kyuubi was extracted from your Jinchuriki successor Kushina Uzumaki, granddaughter of your sister Yuna Uzumaki Uchiha, and your brother-in-law Madara Uchiha had also died due to the extraction of her Bijuu. Although both of Naruto's parents had left the last of their chakra in the form of shadow clones sealed away in his mindscape in case of situations such as this, they could intervene and protect him, and your son and his wife, well, I know they already died, but it seems I can't summon their souls for some reason. I cannot fulfill the final ritual if I don't have their assistance, so I'm gonna contact someone that could assist us even better than any of us." Mito nods and then asks, Sage Sama, who are you gonna try to contact?" Hagoromo smiled, but then shuddered. "The person I'm gonna summon isn't a regular soul anymore. No, the person I'm gonna contact is a person that had after death had become the very embodiment of death itself. My mother, the rabbit goddess Kagile Tsutsuki, the thief of the fruit of the Shinju god tree, had been punished for her crime of stealing the sacred fruit was to be turned into the Shinigami, becoming also extremely special summon of my youngest son's descendants, special being that if anyone not of Uzumaki blood attempts to summon my mother, she has permission to eat their souls. The best summoning at this moment is using the Shinigami mask, but for me, I can summon her without it, although we still need the Shinigami mask to remove their souls from my mother's stomach. Takamori finally after listening to all his relatives talking spoke himself. Sage-sama, the last Shinigami mask was sent with Kushina-chan to Konoha to be placed in the Uzumaki mask storage temple to be protected. Of course I knew that and your descendant is very smart. Before fleeing Konoha had stolen the Shinigami mask from the temple, before blowing it up and fleeing. Now then I will begin to summon my mother, so please stand back. I need to open a SENKAIMON world protection gate to bring her to this mindscape. Oh boy isn't she gonna be pissed. Sage of Six Paths hefted his Shikujo and began the process of opening the Senkamen. It takes the form of a traditional Japanese waiting room entered through a shimjai. It can be opened by using a spiritual tool as a key. The method requires simply placing the spiritual tool in front of the user and inserting it into the spatial area. One wants the Senkamen to appear before turning the tool like a key. As the crease of the door appears and fully opens, another door beyond it opens, releasing one of the safety mechanisms of the summoning the JIGOKUCHM Hell Butterfly, used for safe passage through the Senkamen. Currently with the open a breath of warm air reminiscent of a spring breeze comes from beyond the Senkamen, before a huge Reishi signature is felt from beyond the Senkamen, as quiet sandaled footsteps are heard within before a voice was heard from beyond, a voice filled with so much power, but also gentle and feminine at the same time. Oh Hagoromo-chan, why do you call me of all times? You never call or visit. Was I such a bad mother for you and your brother not to love me so? Your need seems great for you to contact me after so long, so I'm coming over. It would give time to lecture you on your manners. Slowly from within the light-filled doorway came the shape of a person, female in shape and movement, elegant as a noblewoman, but as dangerous as a tiger. Stepping into her descendant's mindscape, everyone got a full sight of Kagaya Tsutsuki, also known as the god or in this case goddess of death. She was a woman in possession of very delicate facial features. Kagaya also had long, sweeping light-colored hair that touched the ground. Most noticeably were two horn-like protrusions which stuck out from her head, appendages inherited by both her sons. Kagaya possessed a Byakugan and also had a third eye in the center of her forehead, that's eyelids parted vertically. Her eyebrows were cut very short, a symbol of nobility, and she wore a dark shade of lipstick on her lips and a dark shade of nail polish on her long fingernails. She wore the transitional high-collared hime kimono, which was adored with intricate lines and tomo running down the center and edges of the gown. Her appearance was a huge surprise to everyone present, especially the Uzumaki clan members present, as a few had seen manuscripts of what the Shinigami Queen actually looked like. Was nothing compared. What they were all seeing right this moment was not why they were expecting. For one thing, due to the Shinigami's manifestations during summoning rituals and using Shiki Fuijin always appeared as a translucent gaunt specter with a demonic visage. It is much larger than an average human, possessing long, shaggy white hair, from which two red horns protrude, and dark grayish-blue colored skin. It is draped in a large white garments and carries a set of prayer beads. When not using it, the Shinigami is almost always seen with a tantrum in its mouth. When removed, however, its mouth is revealed to be full of sharp jagged teeth and a very long, almost serpentine tongue. Kagaya herself was looking around curiously, as if to figure out where she was before she spotted her son in the small crowd of her descendants, and slowly walked up to her now shuddering son, who despite looking older than her, was slowly kneeling down in subjugation. Moving her hands across his head and hair, she whispered, "My little boy, my firstborn son by a few seconds, how are you? Are you well? And why must I be here when I am meant to be ruling the dead?" Hagoromo, taking a deep shuddering breath, spoke, "Mother, our need is great. Our family's blood had finally stabilized within our descendant, who carries all three of my son's blood within him. Right now he is dying from a great betrayal, and his grandmother is doing her best to heal him. Mother, I need the souls of Hashirama Senju and Tabarama Senju. Assist us in order to heal his wounds and fully unlock his power. Please, Mother." Shaking her horned head, Kagaya spoke, "Their lives were forfeit when their student asked me to seal them away in exchange for his soul. They remain within me now, and I see no one wielding my summoning mask, so I can't even be forced to release them anyway. But I sense that our descendant is meant for greater things, and I feel the Parthenon of the other kami would not be happy if I let their chosen one die, just to keep some souls in my belly, so I agree. Now summon our descendant here, while I bring both of them out, okay?" Appearing with his great body in subjugation, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, also known as Kurama, spoke, "Grandmother, it is a great honor to finally meet you after so long. Please accept us the Bijuu as you grandchildren, we who were born from your son and the Shinju's chakra. I ask this of you, O grandmother, as my human brothers had accepted us the Bijuu, I ask that you accept us as well." Smiling at her pseudo-grandson, she moved to put her hand on his head, then smiled. "Oh Kurama-chan, when you were born I was present for you and your siblings' births. You were such a lovely looking kid with your puffy cheeks and childish eyes and long bunny-like ears, and when I saw all of you cry for your father, I knew you were no longer the emotionless being that the Shinju was. In that moment I had already accepted you and your siblings as my grandchildren. It's just I haven't been able to make contact with any of you, other than when I was summoned to do something I couldn't manifest myself until now. Now that a Senkamen has been opened, though I can now freely manifest myself in my less intimidating form, I'm gonna make it up to you and your siblings. Now stand up, you are no servant that needs to constantly bow." Kurama lifted his head with tears coming out of his eyes. "Thank you, grandmother. I will always honor you as one of your grandchildren." Nodding, Kagaya moves off to the side to begin regurgitating the Senju brother, which happened by her reaching down her throat and seemingly spitting 2 balls of light onto the mindscape, where they quickly take the forms of the Senju brothers in their prime. Less than a few seconds later, both were looking around before Hashirama Senju spoke after facing his brother. "Do you see this, brother? We've been revived again due to your foolish creating of the Ito Tensei of yours. How many times do you have to be revived for all of this to stop?" Tobirama in one of his legendary thinking poses without looking at his older brother before closing his eyes and answering, "Be silent, brother. If this was the Ito Tensei I would know about it. Besides, it looks like we are fully alive instead of being summoned. Besides, there isn't even any cracks running along our bodies to indicate that this was in fact Ito Tensei, so stop jumping to conclusions, brother." Both brothers' argument was stopped dead by a huge killing intent that made their blood run cold. Facing them was a woman with 2 horn-like pieces on her head, who smiled sweetly before speaking. "Tobirama Senju, do you know who I am?" "What? No answer." "Then I'll present myself. My name Kagaya Tsutsuki, mother of the Sage of 6 Paths, and now I am known as the Shinigami. Your so-called technique Ito Tensei is a great affront to me, the embodiment of death itself, to forcefully take souls from my care. I should tear your soul apart forever to wander the world. Would you like the Tobirama-san? Because you creating that technique you may as well be a good punishment. But no, that isn't the Ito Tensei. I brought you out of my stomach so you can help out your family." Tobirama lost his composure and quickly nodded his head before in a frightened voice asked, "What would you need our assistance for, Shinigami-sama?" "It is not I that needs your assistance, it is my son who wishes for your assistance." Walking up between the 2 Senju brothers, Hagoromo coughed to get their attention. "Excuse you 3, but we need you 2 and everyone else to begin the ritual to awaken his power." But this the 2 Senju brothers moved towards the circle of people, Tobirama and Madara, glaring at one another until Madara had his ears clipped by his wife, while Tobirama was stopped by killing intent coming from his brother and sister-in-law. Back to Kagaya and Hagoromo, both were looking in each other's eyes before Hagoromo takes a deep breath. "Okay, mother, what do you want to know about Naruto-chan?" Still keeping a straight face, Kagaya answered, "Yes, I just want to know what our descendant's life was like up to this point." "Are you sure, mother? His life up to this point was a living hell. If you were to view it, I want you to promise me that you won't go into a rampage over what you see in his memories." "Oh, calm down, Hagoromo-chan, I'm a goddess of death. I think I can handle it. That's the thing, I can barely restrain myself when I viewed his memories." "Mother, how would you react to his memories?" Hagoromo thought with a sad expression. Shaking his head, Hagoromo moves up to his mother and poked her in the forehead, letting the memories pour into her head. It only took 2 seconds for all the memories to be processed before Kagaya lifted her head in rage as a very dark chakra cloak began to surround her, as her face was simultaneously being covered the traditional Hanyu mask that she was known to manifest when summoned via Shiki Fujin. Although this rage only lasted for 30 seconds before the chakra cloak dissipated, causing Kagaya to kneel on the ground and her Hanyu mask to shatter to reveal that she had tears running down her cheeks. Shaking her head in anguish, "I should have been there. I was the one that has sealed away Kurama-chan. I should have watched over him, cares for him like a guardian should have done. I swear on my blood, when each of those Konoha scum die, I will throw their souls in the most deepest pits of hell, to be tortured for all eternity. I swear to you, Naruto-chan, my descendant, I will support you in any endeavor you do. I will support you." Putting his hand on his mother's shoulder, he whispered, "Mother, I know you hold regret, but put it aside for when your anger is needed. Not right now. We need to concentrate on the current situation at hand, and that needs a calm, clear mind, okay?" Receiving a nod of agreement from his mother, "Good, now let's summon our descendant." Tapping the water's surface, Naruto's body materializes in the middle of the circle of his relatives, his body covered in blood. Even here within his mind he was bloodied. His bloodied form caused Madara, his wife and son and his own wife, to start leaking killing intent, worryingly causing some of the other to nearly take up fighting stances. Although this was stopped when they heard Naruto sobbing. Iruka Sensei, Tuchi Jisen, Am Nisan, Yugao Nisan, Asuma Nisan, Ryu-san, Izumo and Katetsu, I have failed you. I couldn't help you. I couldn't save you, damned Konoha. Goddamn you all. Hagoromo had a worried look on his face as he watched his descendant cry out for vengeance. Wait, before we begin, I wanna check something about his chakra signature. Tapping the water near Naruto, two images appeared in the water. The first one had long black hair cut short on top, with two locks wrapped in bandages, framing either side of his face. His eyebrows were cut short, a symbol of his nobility, and his eyes had markings around his eyes which were turned up at the corners. He wore a high-collared, light-colored kimono held closed by a dark sash. Around the collar of the kimono was adorned with magatama, under which he wore a black full-bodied suit. Indra, looking at the other reflection in the water, looked like a dark-haired version of Naruto. This person had short, spiky hair, two locks of which were wrapped in bandages, framing either side of his face in a similar manner to his brother. He also wore what seemed to be a blank forehead protector. He wore a light-colored kimono which was adorned with magatama around the collar. The kimono was held closed by a dark-colored sash. Underneath all of this he wore a black full-body suit. Ashura. This is unprecedented. Both of my son's souls contained within his body. Thankfully my youngest didn't even fight, so he didn't need to be reincarnated. But this just proves that Naruto is the true heir to the throne of the West. To have both sides of my two eldest sons, maybe he can claim my Zanpakuto as well if he's strong enough. Shaking his head he called out, Indra, Ashura, rise. With that the two reflections rose out of the water, standing up with their eyes closed. Opening their eyes they saw their father and grandmother with several other people they didn't recognize but felt that they were familiar before locking eyes with each other, causing both to draw their weapons but were stopped by their father who had jumped between them and stopped them both. Ashura, Indra, you will both calm down or I will knock you both around like when you two were children. Both young men blanched and moved their hands back from their weapons before the elder of the two brothers. Indra asked in a serious tone of voice, Father, what is happening here? Who are these people? I thought we have both long since died. The younger brother, the one who resembled Naruto, the Ashura, asked the same question. Yeah, why are we here? I don't think this is a family reunion, so it must be bloody important, right? And who the hell is that kid and why does he look like me? Hagoromo nods in response before answering, well yes, you are both right. This isn't just some family reunion, these people are actually your descendants, and the boy lying on the ground over there is actually your combined reincarnation and descendant. Indra had a questioning look on his face as he turned back around towards his father. What happened to the boy? It looks like somebody screwed him up pretty badly. He was betrayed, stabbed in the back by one who was once his former friend. Ashura generally genial face gave way to extremely serious face reminiscent of his descendant Hashirama as he asked, so why is it so important for us to be here? Oh, so is it right? What you prophesied would be born for when we could return home. Yes. Now I summoned you here because it is imperative that you assist us with his healing, and very soon I'm gonna summon your Bijuu siblings. Kurama is already here as well. Our family's most important members need to be present for this to work. Now then, let's summon your other siblings, or at least partially. Shuhaku, Isobu, Madatabi, Son Goku, Kakuo, Seiken, Jimei and Jayuki, I call you now, come, we all need your help. So your brother Isobu has been captured. This isn't good, but we'll have to make do. One by one all the tailed beasts and their current Jinchuriki appeared, all looking extremely confused until they spotted their father and siblings, both human and Bijuu, and gave a combined cry of joy and quickly ignored everything else and stampeded towards the rest of their family, only to be stopped as they took in the sight of the badly injured boy lying on the ground. One Jinchuriki felt something familiar. This girl was the Jinchuriki of the seven-tailed beetle Fuwu, one of those Naruto sworn to love. Spotted a familiar figure on the ground surrounded by his family pushing her way through the crowd of humans and Bijuu, and recognizing the person that she gave her heart to, Naruto Uzumaki, was dying, making her quickly rush to his side amid the confused looks of nearly everyone else other than those that knew Naruto's secret promise to Fuwu, Minato, Kushina, Kurama, Temi and of course Hagoromo. Kushina, moving away to make room for Fuwu, got on her knees and began to cry out, "No, Naruto-kun, please don't leave me. You were one of the few reasons that I still want to live without you. I have nothing left to live for, please don't die on me. Remember your promise to me and Tenten-san, you promised you'd love us. How can you keep your promise when you're dead? So please, future husband, please don't die." Immediately being embraces by Kushina, who was trying to calm down the hysteric girl. Temi turned towards his elder brother and asked what happened to Naruto-chan. Kurama Nyasan. Not even to turn his head towards his brother, Kurama answered, he was first imprisoned, then tortured for fulfilling his mission and bringing back a mentally unstable Kamen. We escaped, but were then ambushed. Nearly every one of his friends are dead. They were all executed in front of him. Now he's dying due to the same Kamen who delivered the killing blow. Temi shook his armored head in sadness. I hope he lives through this. Fuwu isn't gonna stay stable mentally if he were to die. Despite my best efforts to help Fuwu-chan, Naruto-chan was the one who brought back hope in her life. Nodding in agreement, Kurama spoke in a sagely tone, despite everything I will help in whatever way I can. While this was going on, Ashura was looking at Naruto before he widened his eyes and ran to him. Wait, stop. His eyes, look at his eyes. Because right before their eyes Naruto's eyes were changing in front of them, changing from sky blue eyes to purple with concentric circles, although whenever it did a seal would appear that would revert it back to his normal blue eyes. Kushina widened her eyes and rushed up to her son. I know this seal it's a modified Hikusenki no Juinjutsu Hyuga curse mark seal. Somebody must have put a seal on him when he was a baby, back when we were all resting from the ceiling. There are at least a few more seals that restrain his growth rate and brain power, although he had unconsciously destroyed all the other seals other than the Hyuga seal. Minato and Madara both subconsciously clenched their fists in rage, as both thought of their own creative ways of killing off the Hyuga clan. In Minato's case he wanted all the Hyuga clan members to have a Hiraishin seal placed on their bodies, and he would release them into the forest of death, where he will gradually hunt them all down, and while alive, will carve out their eyes before decapitating them and placing their heads on sticks. In Madara's head his plan was also simple, where he would first line up all the guilty Hyuga clan members, and he would use his perfect Susanoo and use its large fingers to tear them limb from limb, cackling wildly like in the old days. Both were interrupted from their dark thoughts by Hagoromo himself, placing his hand on Naruto's forehead and literally lifting out the seal before quickly crushing it in the palm of his hands. Enough time has been wasted, everyone get in a circle and join hands. Minato-chan, put your hands on my shoulder. Will you, Kushina, put your hands on my mother. Kagaya, all of the humans members within the groups clasped hands, albeit in Tobirama's case, they were only doing it for the sake of saving their descendant, and Ashura and Indra were forced to clasp hands as well, although Indra attempted to break his brother's hands by squeezing too hard. Turning toward his Bijuu children he called out, alright my children, I need you all to join your tails together so that all of your chakra is synchronized together and put one tail on each of your cousin's shoulders. Me and mother will stand in the middle, acting as conduit to perform the ritual. The tailed beasts did as their father told and quickly got themselves organized with. Now I want you all to draw your chakra to the palm of your hands, then when ready send it around, make it into a swirling ring around us. To my Bijuu children, start to send your yokai through each other's tails and do the same thing we are doing. Slowly within the inner part of the double circle a small rainbow of light began to swirl, which was gradually beginning to mix into a pure white ring of energy, each person grimacing in pain as others people's chakra were passing before them. The tailed beast also closed their eyes and concentrated on releasing their yokai in calm bursts, which began to circulate into a great ring of dark power. Okay, now my children, send your yokai forward toward the ones you are connected with your tail. Remember, this needs to happen at the same time, or else the ring of yokai will break. The Bijuu will their yokai made energy ring was sent at the same time towards the inner chakra ring, fusing with a turn on the ring into a grey disc. This is the final part. Minato, Kushina, draw in the rings, then send it towards me and my mother so we could purify it even further before we send it to Naruto-chan's body. Minato and Kushina grimaced as they pulled the large ring of grey power, which condensed into two balls in their hand, and at the same time sending it to Hagoromo and Kagaya, who quickly moved to place all of their combined powers within Naruto, more specifically right into his chakra core, causing this new chakra to take shape around him, reminiscent of a much more stronger chakra. CLOAK, think Naruto's full cloaked Bijuu chakra mode, except that most of his cloak is black with grey lines, and Magatama's, his eyes wide in pain, had once again changed into his fully powered Rinnegan, which in front of everyone's eyes changed once again with the rings in his eyes expanding, and 3 Tomo appeared spinning in the inner circle near the pupil. When Kagaya and Hagoromo saw his eyes, both gasped as Hagoromo whispered, the eyes of the Shinju, but how? As all of the members of the ritual crowded around the young man, they all helped save Kagaya and her son were having one of their theory sessions. Kagaya put her hand to her chin and thought aloud, well, I have a theory that a lot of the chakra used in this ritual was actually made up of 1/3 of the Shinju's chakra that were passed down to the ages and the Bijuu themselves. Hagoromo nodded his head in agreement. Yes, that would make sense. The Bijuu themselves is actually made up of maybe 75% of the Shinju's chakra and 25% my chakra, so it would make sense that he would unlock such a powerful eyes from the 10 tails itself, with us sending our combined chakra into his body. It's no surprise really. He will awaken soon. We will wait here. You my children are to return to your bodies in the real world. One by one the Jinchuriki dispersed. The last 2 to go was Gaara and Fu, with Gaara nodding towards Naruto's parents. He dispersed himself too. Fu remained staring at Naruto before looking towards Naruto's parents, then back at him. Can you please tell him I was here to tell him before he flees that I will follow him. Please tell him to come get me here in Taki. I'm so lonely there. I'd rather be with him as a missing nin than be a weapon any longer. Kurama leaned forward as he calmly poked her in the head. Girl, do not worry, put your trust in him, and he never failed to fulfill your promise. Now tell where are you so we can easily take you with us. Despite Shibuki-sama, the Council of Taki have me living in the borders under Anbu guard to be used as a border patrol against invasion. Although the Anbu are not the ones who are loyal to Shibuki, but instead are loyal to the council. I have heard from one of the Anbu that they plan to sell me to the highest bidder in the sex trafficking when I'm 15. Please Kurama-sama, please come get me. But that view faded away in a shower of light alongside Jimei. At first all was tranquil as the remaining family stood quietly as they waited for Naruto to awaken. Suddenly a loud scream situated from Naruto as he was engulfed in pure white light, which despite getting smaller, did not lose any of its intensity. For the ball of light was broken by what seemed like 10 wings that emerged from the ball itself, before finally forming into Naruto. But not Naruto was clad in glowing robes of pure chakra as he screamed to the skies. The dark wet mindscape shattered around his 10 wings, spreading to what seems like hours. Finally his screaming had faded as he calmly looked towards his family all deceased as all stared at him in wonderment. Naruto turned his head away, saying only a small number of words. Thank you all. I have finally truly know what it means to be loved. Now I go to battle to destroy the murderers of our family. Naruto dissolved in a shower as his consciousness was returned to the main part of his body right in the middle of battle. Turning towards his mother, Hagoromo got serious as he asked, "Mother, what else did you put into his body?" The Gaia smirked, "Oh, just the Jito Meizo statue which fused with my grandchildren's chakra so that it will be turned into an instant battery. Besides it is heavily weakened so it can't fight back anyway. Besides it seemed too willing to join him. I think I felt it in my head saying thank you. Besides it will power up his Rinnegan to the point of nothing being a threat." Outside the seal during the emergence, Tsunade was in her last rope. She was so badly wounded that her Saisei Sozo wasn't even helping anymore. Every single time that she killed one root another two would attack her in retaliation. Just as all hope was lost she felt it, a feeling of calm and peace, as her pain and sadness was momentarily forgotten. Then came the shockwave of power so bright and powerful everyone on the battlefield had to shield their eyes or risk going blind, especially the Dojutsu users that were present. A voice was heard from within the shockwave of light, unknown to all those on the battlefield all over the world. All those who could hear his voice stopped what they were doing and listened. I have come. Northwestern continent at a campsite. The dark-haired, dark-skinned woman stood up from her breakfast as she felt a powerful wave of Reishi hit her, sending senses haywire as she heard within her head a voice. Instead of panicking she calmly closed her eyes and just continued listen, feeling the calmness in the voice. This feeling, it's so powerful, yet so righteous. All darkness will tremble. Sarate within the former Satecho's office. 3 men were in the middle of a meeting when the wave of power washed over them, causing all 3 men to stop drinking their tea, with one of the men who wore a yukata and wearing glasses and a slicked back hair sitting in the main table, actually dropping his teacup with the hot liquid dripping down his kimono and also caused his glasses to shatter. While a dark-skinned man with long brown braids saw a vision and gasped as he saw a man shrouded in light and secretly began to cry as he was in his head, looking at the image of a true god. A third man with aquamarine hair moved to help the man with shattered glasses, so busy they were that they didn't notice their companion shedding tears. Then the voice was heard in their heads which caused the man with damaged glasses to start trembling in fear, much to the worry of those 2 with him. I don't know what's happening. This isn't part of my plans for God to come down to this plane. I don't think we could win. Black-hearted tyrants shall fall to their knees. Konohagakure no Sato Hokage Tower with Danzo and elders. Unlike many other people whose hearts were righteous when the wave of power washed over Konohagakure no Sato, many whose hearts were blackened with greed and ignorance screamed out in pain as their very bodies rebelled against them. One such man, the called Yami no Shinobi Shadow of Shinobi, Danzo Shimura, screamed as his stolen bloodlines, the Mokuton and the Sharingan, caused him to scream out in pain as one by one his stolen Sharingans in his arm and eye were bleeding and then suddenly exploding in a small showers of blood as the Mokuton arm seemingly torn off of its own will as it too seemingly exploded in a shower of blood and flesh. Now truly Danzo was now a true cripple. Danzo looked up to the sky as he screamed, "Damn you sage and your descendants, we were meant to rule this world, not you. I swear I will kill off your last descendant. I will hang his corpse on a pole, I swear it." While within the Hyuga compound with the other Hyuga who didn't go with Hiashi and Niji, all screamed out in pain as each felt the voice of a living god and his anger washing over them. Their eyes, like the Sharingan users, their eyes bled. Although some didn't get as hurt as the rest, many of the branch house remained safe as their arrogant main house siblings screamed in pain. While in the main house practically all the members were banging their heads in an attempt to stop the pain, and the elders, those who selfishly throw away family, had their eyes explode in their skulls and died knowing whatever selfish plans they had will never come to completion. Hinata remained unharmed, while Hanabi herself was screaming and crying as she cried with her sister. The downtrodden will rise up. Within slave market in Genbu City, northwestern continent, slaves of various peoples weekly walk to their fate as those who received the bad end of the stick. As they were led away, the shockwave reached them. Among the slaves, a young red-haired woman who looked up from her painful march to slavery as the voice that came with the shockwave caused her to become empowered with celestial power, causing 4 chain links to burst from her back as she broke the chains that bound her arms and legs and made a desperate charge against her captors. She put up a fight, killing many slavers, but was eventually overwhelmed overwhelmed by sheer numbers and was cut down before she died. Those that were surrounding her, swords drawn, heard her weak and dying voice. The slavers and all those that take pleasure in the suffering from others will fall before the might of the true heir of the sage. He will take back what is rightfully his and end the suffering of the people against the tyrants who flaunt power as if it was rightfully theirs. I am the punishment of heaven. If you had not committed great sins, then heaven would not have sent a punishment like me down upon you. An first historical quote from Genghis Khan to the Shah of Samarkand, slightly modified to fit the story. Back to the battlefield near Tenchi Bridge. Nearer to the source of the shockwave of power, Jiraiya and his followers were all on their knees screaming as their captives, now free, were able to move closer towards Tsunade. Near them the light condensed as a being clad in light stepped forth. It was clear who this person was, with his trademark whisker marks on both his cheeks and spiked blonde hair. Naruto Uzumaki had returned with a vengeance. Smiling towards his remaining friends, he said, "I'm sorry for being a bit too late, but now I'm back. I'm gonna show who the real destroyer is." To be continued. What if Banished Naruto marries femme kyuubi? Council bashing. Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.